Very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 2018 IPA Champions Cup of Pool. We are in Cardiff this evening at the Canton Liberal Club, and we're here for week 3 of the Champions Cup. There is the wonderful trophy that the top 64 players are all competing for. This week, as I mentioned, we are very much in Cardiff, as we see one of the top players in the world, Craig Marsh, take on Greg Batten in our first game this evening, our first semi-final. We'll see Kevin Barton taking on Corey Rees later on to do this in their game, and the winner of both of these semis will be in the final later on to advance through to the next stage of the IPA Champions Cup. Wonderful competition run over successive weeks here on FreeSports. We've already seen 2 fantastic weeks of action in Washington as Mark Farnsworth and Ronan McCarthy have booked their places in the second round. Stephen Jameson here with you on the commentary once again. Delighted to be joined again by Simon Webb. And Simon, we've seen such a wonderful competition so far in the Champions Cup, and I think we're expecting more of the same this week as well.
Yeah, good evening. Yeah, so far the event has been absolutely fantastic. We've seen phenomenal performances from Mark Farnsworth and Ronan McCarthy. And tonight we've got another one of our stars in Craig Marsh, the 2017 World Champion in action. So expect some exciting things now.
Yeah, it's been a wonderful competition so far. We've still got plenty left in this competition though. It's only week 3 of 21 in total.
Semi-final number 1, Rees to 6, Greg Batten the break.
So Greg Batten has the break. Most important shot in 8-ball pool, and up against Craig Marsh, he'll be hoping to get a good start. And he gets a pretty good spread, and he's a little unlucky to come up dry there.
Yeah, he's got a nice break there. He didn't quite give it everything. That wasn't a hugely powerful break, but he's got a very nice split and will be disappointed to come up dry. Bottom
middle pocket as we look at it there, just didn't quite drop for Greg, and Craig here has got a pretty open table to look at.
Yeah, he's got options both ways. He's also got potentially problems both ways. The red next to the black, the 2 yellows next to that, whichever colour set he goes, they need to be worked out.
Reds in play.
He opted for reds.
Yeah, it does look like the red that's just below the black does go to the bottom corner pocket, but he needs to be quite precise when he gets on it. If it depends how confident he's feeling, he may, well, you see this camera angle shows he's got a little bit more room on that red, so I suspect he'll probably leave that for his last ball and look to get somewhere straight on the red onto the left-hand side rail as his penultimate ball, if he can.
Yeah, I've seen 2 of the masters of the 8-ball game in our opening couple of weeks up in the northeast in Washington. Mark Farnsworth and Ronan McCarthy safely through to the next stage of the Champions Cup. Craig Marsh is the seed for this one, but it's not the most auspicious of starts from the big man.
Yeah, he's overscrewed this by quite a long way, to be honest. He wasn't trying to get anywhere near that red. We've seen in the first couple of weeks this is a very responsive table.
Yeah, it's been interesting, hasn't it, to watch that development, especially in the early games when players do play their first game. They might just drop, used every single millimetre of the pocket there, did Craig. But we've noticed that in the first throws of the games in both weeks so far, the Champions Cup, with the brand new table, doesn't quite respond as players are exactly used to. Cushions are a little bit slidey, the table's a bit quicker.
Yes, it is. When a table's absolutely brand new, it just takes a few frames to get used to it and for it to bed in. I think within the first couple of frames the players will start to get used to it, but it can catch players out early on.
He's played a good recovery, well, he's played a couple of good recovery shots there as Craig, after running out of position on the red on the cushion. Going down the rail then. He is dispatched comfortably, and he's left himself a pretty simple red for the black. And he's got a great opportunity here, which should be pretty consummately taken to reverse dish in the opening frame, which is pretty much the perfect start for Craig Marsh.
good recovery after a slightly slack positional shot in the middle. He had to reroute and come up with something slightly different, but he's worked his way through it, and a great start by Craig.
That's the trophy they are all playing for. This is his recent tournament history. Craig Marsh got to the quarter-final of the Welsh Professional just at the last weekend, just down the road here in Cardiff. Last 16 of the Open as well. A couple of promising performances in the UK Professional in June last year. Also did pretty well in the British Professional in October. He's just overall a very, very strong player.
He is. He'll be the first to admit, though, since he won the World Championships last February 17, he's not quite been at the deep end of tournaments as much as he'd like. He hasn't won an event since then on the IPA Tour, and he knows that he probably hasn't quite been the player he was when he won the World Championships. So I know that he's very, very excited for the 2018 season and looking to get back to his best.
Yeah, it can be difficult for players to fully recover almost after winning a World Championship, because it's obviously such a moment of sporting peak, and to get to that height to then come down and play the regular tour events can take some adjustment.
Well, we saw it recently, just this weekend with Ben Davies, who won the World Championships 3 or 4 weeks ago. His first event since the World Championships, he's lost both first round in both events. So it just shows that maybe there is a bit of a fallout from winning it, but I think that's won't last too long before both Craig and Ben get back into winning ways.
Craig's first break was a very powerful one, and he's in a good position here once again to stop Craig getting a shot. He's only had a break so far, Craig Patton. He has got to look in.
And all he'll be pinning his hopes on in this frame is that yellow just to the right of the black. It looks like it's too close to the rail to drop into the centre, and it's in a very, very awkward position. Even if you wanted to play it down the rail, there that camera angle shows that's I don't think that's possible to drop that in the centre. So it's going to require good positional play to get on it. I don't think he's going to look to move it, because it's quite an awkward ball to move from. He could use the yellow to the top right.
Of course, got the risk of moving the black, or indeed going in off as well if he goes to move it.
Yeah, it's just a tricky one. He's on it.
I think that's the quickest I think we've seen a play a shot. The shot clock is very much in, so you heard the noise there from the klaxon. 45 seconds each player has to take a shot in this competition. And I think Craig Marsh was asked if he sort of looked at the referee, thought, do I need this extension? Saw he had a few seconds left and just got down and played the shot.
Yeah, he looked almost a bit shocked as what was going on there. And he managed to make the shot with a second to go. He may play into this red on the rail now. He has, but that was the problem. He couldn't play into it until if he was going to play that shot, he wanted to do it 2 or 3 shots ago, not then, because he had to be on it the way he played that. And he's nudged it too far, and now he isn't on a yellow at all.
That was a really delicate shot, and he just got a little bit too much on it. All he needed was a few inches less. It's over the pocket, and the frame was all but his.
So he's going to try and come up with something creative here. This is very, very difficult. Looks like he's trying to make it into the bottom left. But that's a bit of a disaster as well, because he's developed 2 of the reds that were on the rail. They weren't going to be too tricky for Greg, but he's made them quite a bit easier.
So here's the reaction to the shot clock. Maybe catching him a touch by surprise.
Yeah, I think he's still a bit confused by the shot clock. I think we don't play with the shot clock too often. It's becoming more and more in use. It tends to be only for finals, but for this event it's for every single match. So, and it's slightly shorter shot clock than we're used to. So it will take a bit of getting used to for all the players.
The sort of ominous tick tick boom towards the final 10 seconds does take some getting used to as well.
Yeah, so it is a 45-second shot clock. You get a 30-second extension, 1 per frame, and you will hear the beeps and the I don't know what to call that noise when if you
Got a klaxon, I
klaxon.
think.
Should we call it a klaxon if you go slightly over? So yeah, that's what the noise you'll hear in the background is.
Yeah, it's a bit of a throwback, that klaxon. I think it was last heard somewhere on a game show in the 1980s, but it really does add to the drama a little
Really
bit,
does,
doesn't it?
yeah. The players do have a big screen in the arena where they can see the clock counting down, so they can keep half an eye on how much time they've got left. But
Yeah, there was no excuse really for Craig Marsh not to have noticed the big red number to the side of the table. But it definitely did take him by surprise. I think he'd have been a bit more annoyed if he'd have missed the easy shot that he then had to play in 2 seconds.
yeah, it was a shot 2 shots later that will have annoyed him, so that he sat down in his chair and was still thinking about that shot clock. There is the shot clock.
Can't miss it. Greg here has got a good chance. This is the key positional shot. If he gets it right, he should be good.
Yeah, he's absolutely fine here. Just needs to follow the white through. He's got loads of margin of error. The red at the top of the table is fairly simple, and the black's sitting waiting. So shouldn't be any mistakes here.
Just has to get this pot right, and the frame will be his. And he does. And perhaps slightly unexpectedly, from the way the balls were set for Craig and the way he played in that first frame, Greg Batten in a great position here to tie things up. Yeah,
that yellow on the right-hand side was always a stumbling block, and Greg would have known that sitting in the chair, that until Craig worked out that yellow, he knew he was going to get a chance in this frame.
Just plays the ball there with a bit of drag just to slow it down, keep it under control. Nice, and he just monitors the white ball as it went towards that corner pocket, but all good for Greg Batten. And this is the shot which eventually, I think, cost Craig Marsh the frame.
It really did cost Craig the frame. The problem with that shot is he wasn't able to play it 2 or 3 shots before. He had to pop a couple more balls to get into the position to be able to play that cannon. And when he played it, the only ball he could be on was the one he was playing, and that was going to be very tough.
Well, this is the most recent record for Greg Batten, and good to see him and Craig have got used to each other over the weekend, playing each other in both the professional and the open in the Welsh competition.
Yeah, they played each other twice this weekend. I think the one in the professional match was quite a tight match and could have gone either way. It looks like Craig won a little bit more comfortably in the open. It's amazing how the draw can throw up 3 consecutive matches in 3 consecutive days.
Yeah, quite incredible, and a good performance as well in the European professional from Craig, losing out to Ronan McCarthy in that one. And also pretty good performance, only losing to Ben Davies as well in the UK Pros in June last year.
Yeah, Greg's been tracking in the right direction since he joined the IPA Tour. He's been getting closer and closer to a final, and a lot of quarterfinals, semi-finals. He's edging in the right direction, and I really don't think it'll be too long before we see him in a final and potentially lifting a trophy. Very, very impressed every time I've watched him play.
Scores tied at 1-0. Greg back in the break.
So Greg back with the break. He'll be looking to make amends after his first one, which was pretty nice, but sometimes, as we see, it's just a case of luck, the run of the balls, whatever you want to call it. Sometimes it's just not going your way, however well you break. It's another good spread. Needs one to go down, though. And he's going to come up unlucky again, and even worse, he's going to go in off. Wow, how's your luck, Greg Batten?
Revisit open table.
It's perhaps 2 of
Time
the
running.
most unfortunate consecutive breaks that we've seen on FreeSports over the last few weeks.
Yeah, that one, he seemed to hit that one even better than the first one, and he's very unlucky to come up dry, but even more unlucky to be kicked in off.
Well, you take a look at the spread here, and it's looking pretty good here for Craig. He's going to choose reds after knocking another yellow safe, and they're all pretty open, aren't they?
Yeah, the reds were so good there that he didn't really need a free shot to develop anything. Didn't need to cannon anything out. So he's just used the yellow there. He's used it to put the yellow safe. Not that he really is worried about what Greg will have when he comes back to table. More a case of just controlling the white into the middle of the table.
And also, when that yellow's on the cushion, it's one less ball for him to be in the way for him.
Yeah, just get it out of the way, make less traffic in the middle of the table for him. And it looks like he's going to fly through this finish in very, very quick fashion.
Yeah, we sometimes see, particularly with the televised events, as players get used to them, that at times it can take, for the most simple breaks, players really take their time, make sure everything's done right. They don't want to make any silly mistakes, but Craig's not the player to really mess about when a table's like this. He's just going to breeze through them.
Yeah, he's not going to overthink any of these shots. They're under there. He knows his pattern. He's just going to work his way through them, and he's got them absolutely simple from here.
Nicely done from Craig Marsh. He's very much on his way to a 2-1 lead here. And there it is, 2-1. Second consecutive reverse dish for Craig Marsh, which has really got to be a real kick in the stomach for Greg Button.
Yeah, he's going to be annoyed with the way his break's gone so far. The tricky thing is to know what to do on your next break, because he's hit both breaks really well, and both times he's been unlucky not to make one, and that time even more so not to be kicked in off.
Yeah, you see the stats so far. These 2 reverse dishes have really been the kicker for Greg Batten. He's looked good when he's been at the table. It's just not all that often he's been at the table. Yeah, not as much as he maybe perhaps should have been.
Yeah, in a strange way, Greg won't be too disappointed to be 2-1, because Craig's had three really good chances, and he made a positional error, or he didn't quite get the cannon out as he wanted to on the middle one, and Greg could easily be 3-0 down here without having a touch of the table, so he won't be too disappointed to be 2-1, but he does know he needs to get his break going if he wants to have a chance in this match.
Fourth frame, Craig Marsh for break, leading 2 racks to 1.
We saw the break of Craig Marsh used to great effect in frame 2. He really does punch through. And somehow that looks like it's going to come up dry, I think. 3rd out of 4 breaks with no balls down. And those are the breaks that, as a player, you just give up on, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. He's hit jaw after jaw there. He won't be able to believe he hasn't made a ball. But he has left a really messy table for Greg. He hasn't left. Greg left a really wide open split for Craig on both of his dry breaks, and this one is going to take some working out for Greg.
He's not electing to use his extension. Plays the plant.
That's not too bad. He's made a great plant there. It looks like the bottom yellow still passes. It's tight. I think he can drop it in. He may not be able. He wants to hit it with enough pace to be able to get the yellow just above it out, so that yellow, because that's his problem yellow. But he's probably only got half a pocket here. You can see there. Yeah, he can definitely pop this, but he wants to inject a decent amount of pace into it to just to cannon the other yellow out.
Of course, the more pace you put onto the shot, the more likely you are to get the very finest adjustments wrong, but that looks like it's come out pretty well for him.
Yeah, he'll be reasonably happy with that. The only thing being that the yellow that has come out, but it's gone onto the side rail, so he will need to probably play on that. I would doubt he's going to look to move it, but he needs to get good position on it, and there always can be missed down the rail. Yeah, he's going to play on it now, I believe.
Yeah, yellow over the centre pocket was always straightforward. And he looks like he's got a natural angle to play down CT on the road. Just see where he tapped his cue. That's where he's going to look to leave the white above the middle pocket on the left rail.
He'd prefer not to be absolutely straight. Probably wants to be just a few inches off the cushion, just so that he can just drop it in at a nice, comfortable pace and drop on and off the cushion. And that's pretty much perfect, because he can just drop this in plain ball, and the white's going to come on and off the cushion and leave him a really good position on the last 2 yellows. This frame's all about this pot down the roll. If he makes it, he'll win the frame.
This is the key shot for the frame, as Simon said. Pot looks good. And these two should be relatively straightforward. Greg will be really pleased. It's been a really funny game this so far, hasn't it? And that both players are going to be level, and it looks like they're going to take the breaks off each other.
Yeah, absolutely. This is sort of already highlighting how important the break in pool can be, and well, 3 dishes off each other's break so far.
Yeah, I don't think we've seen this so far in the Champions Cup. We've seen plenty of tight games, but not constant reverses. So here we take a look at the top half of the draw in the Champions Cup. And as you can see, the results from Sunderland, or Washington more precisely. Mark Farnsworth heading through in that one. He eventually beat Mickey Oliver in the final pretty comprehensively. Those 2 games were week 1 of the Champions Cup. And you can see yourself there against Zach Wilkinson. Looking forward to that game?
Yeah, really looking forward to that. It's a few weeks away yet, but it will be at this venue as well, so really excited for that match.
I think there's been a great level of anticipation amongst the players for this competition, hasn't there? And almost especially so because you're made to wait so many weeks, because there is only 3 games a week. It's rare. You're used to playing 3 games a day, not
Yeah.
1 game in 6 weeks.
Absolutely. Normally in a tournament everyone would play their last 64 match and then you'd go on to the last 32 match, but it's quite a unique format, the 4 players will play 2 rounds before anyone else has started the tournament. So yeah, I think there's 16 weeks of group stages, so it is a different way of playing the tournaments.
And yet again, Greg Batten has come up with a dry break. It's his 3rd in a row.
Yeah, so Craig here, it's an interesting split. Reds are probably easier apart from the 2 reds on the rail. Yellows have a couple of problems themselves. Just a little cluster in the middle of the table, where it's sort of the triangle area. But he doesn't have a great opening yellow. He's got one to the top left. But if he takes reds, he has a red where he can cut to the top left, as we look now, and go into the 2 reds on the rail. But you've got problems both ways, and it's whichever way you see it here.
Yeah, it's not obvious, this. Looks like he's going for that second option. That's all he's played. How's it come out for him?
Red and blue.
Okay, the reds on the rail have come out okay. One of them's gone to the top rail, which it's awkward, but it's solvable. He doesn't, probably not going to look to move it, probably just play on it. The 2 reds in the cluster area, in the sort of bottom end of the table, they're now his problem. He can play on them as a plant. It would take some making that plant, but if he does decide to play it as a plant, the red that he's playing onto the other red will go towards the bottom right pocket as well. Or he could look to play into them.
The top cushion must pass the yellow over the top pocket. That's what he's tried to play there. Studying the table. It's a tight squeeze.
Yeah, just looking at from the overhead camera, I suggested he might have a plant on, but he might not have the full pocket for a plant. So I think he's probably going to look to play into that area. If that white stops now, he's come just too far. If he was hoping to have an angle to play into the reds, he's come probably 6 inches too far.
It's a perfectly executed pot. But he's not left himself an easy route to the end of the frame.
Yeah, I think the way he's played this now, it suggests to me that he is going to look at playing the plant on the 2 reds. Play the bottom red into the left-hand pocket. The red he's going to play onto the other red is going to go towards the right-hand pocket. He's got to be careful that he gets the white out from those yellows so that he can still see that red. But this plant is a tricky one to make.
Yeah, this is a very, very difficult shot. Oh, he's played it superbly.
Yeah,
that's the second red ended up.
Brilliant shot. Shot of the night so far. Absolutely fantastic.
It's one of the shots of the tournament so far. the way that's turned out for him has been just about perfect. The pot was incredibly difficult as it was, standalone. And then to get the position that he did, he'll be immensely satisfied with that. And the ripple applause around the Canton club here is richly deserved. He moves into a 3-2 lead, Craig Marsh, one that's been hard-earned. As we take a look at the numbers so far, there you see it. It's 3-2 to Craig Marsh. Every frame has gone against the break. I don't think we've seen that so far.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been tricky with the break so far. Both players have hit the break quite nicely and had good splits, but it's not really opened up for them, and they haven't made a ball. So, yeah, so far the break has been the key statistic, really.
And speaking of the break, we will have our own. You can rejoin us for the conclusion of this one after this.
Yellow to play. Extension call.
in Cardiff. Welcome back to the IPA Champions Cup of Pool. You rejoin us just as Craig Marsh has thrown away an excellent opportunity of moving 4-2 in front. This is the break from Craig. Got away pretty well, potted a red, chose yellows. This was a shot that put him in a little bit of trouble.
Extension
Wasn't
call.
happy with that whatsoever. You can see there by his facial expression. And then this was the miss. Onto the black, nice and simple. And missed what was maybe one of his easier pots of the break.
Yeah, it's a fairly regulation pot for a player of Craig's ability. He'll be very, very frustrated to miss that. He recovered the situation well, having had a couple of tricky positional shots to play, so he'll be very, very frustrated.
Totals on the call.
I think it's fair to say with Craig, he doesn't have as good a temperament as some of the other top players, and that can definitely catch him out from time to time. So it's interesting to watch him when he makes mistakes to see how annoyed he gets and how much is that going to affect him in the rest of this match.
And he's got a bit of recovery work to do here. Greg has put him in a snooker, and well, the thing is with this, if Craig hits it, he's got a good chance of potting it.
And if he pots it, he will be on the black.
Oh,
It looks like he's going to go the other side of it, so he has hit it.
He's had a bit of a result though. He's hit it.
time off.
He could have gone in off hitting it on that side, and the fact that he's left the white almost
Time
touching
running.
that red. If this white isn't touching the red, then Greg's got a bit of a problem.
Yeah, I don't think it is. And of course, with the rules of 8-ball, the object ball has to touch the cushion.
So I think if this has been called as a touching ball, and I believe it has, then yeah, Greg just has to hit a cushion. He can just play away from this red. He doesn't need, and when he hits the first cushion, that will count as hitting a cushion. So he doesn't need to hit an object, another red, and then hit a cushion, which makes this a very controllable shot.
He used to bypass that red though. In the ideal world, we move into the game's first real safety battle.
Yeah, Craig's not going to look at anything safety here. He is going to just try and find a way of making this yellow. Looks like he's got an option to double it into the bottom corner pocket. That's probably what he's looking at.
A champagne shot if it came off. Looks good.
Brilliant, brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
He's played a couple of wonderful shots in the last couple of frames, Craig Marsh. The plant at the end of the last, and then this one, absolutely terrific. And he's on the black as well, most importantly. Beautifully done. Really very good.
He's had a touch of fortune there to leave Greg touching or very close to that ball and limit his options, but he still had to come up with a great shot to win that frame. But if he hadn't got the touch of run, then Greg would have been able to be much easier for him to get a snooker.
He's a very offensive player, is Craig Marsh. Never needs an excuse to have a go. And Greg just gave him the option. And he punished him for it.
Yeah, this is the first time that Greg will be frustrated. His break hasn't worked so far. He's been limited to his very few chances, and once Craig misses there, he knows he should win that frame. And you know, he's been a touch unlucky, and Craig's come up with an absolutely magical shot to win the frame. So Greg may be a little bit frustrated with the way the match has gone so far.
Seventh frame. Greg Watton the break. Trailing 4 frames to 2.
Greg Watton has had horrendous luck so far on the break. How he would like that to change. And gets into it really nicely, but I think he's going to come up dry again. It's incredible. You see the reaction from Greg there, he can't believe it.
Yeah, that's 4 out of 4 dry breaks for Greg. It's going to be just not being his match. He's just not gone his way so far.
And from a player's perspective here, Simon, whilst we all acknowledge that the break is hugely important, and there's a huge degree of skill to a break. There is always such an element of luck to it with how the balls are going to come out.
Yeah, all you can do is hit the balls as well as you can hit them, and if you continue to hit the balls well and get big splits, then you have to believe that, that luck will even, will fall on your side, and you'll make a ball more often than not. I don't believe the break is all luck. There is an awful lot of skill in the break, but that you can have days where you can hit it brilliantly and just come up dry and be unlucky. And so far, we've seen with the splits that he's left for Craig, it's not that he's breaking badly, he just can't make one.
These reds now look pretty inviting for Craig Marsh in a race to 6. He's a few shots away from being at match point here.
Yeah, so Craig's just got the one bad ball, and he's played on it, but he's just probably 3-4 inches too low. He was trying to be on the yellow nearest, the red nearest the yellow, but if he was an extra 2-3 inches up the table, then he would just be straight on this and he'd be able to just drop it in. Now he's going to be going up towards the corner pocket, so if he does play it now, he's going to have to control the white quite. It's going to be tricky. I think he probably still wants to play it now because it's going to be difficult to get back to that area.
Doesn't like it, does he? And the fact it's near the cushion automatically makes it more difficult.
Extension called.
He's used the extension. Got the hang of it now.
Yeah, looks like he's got the grips with the shot clock now. Yeah, looks like he's going to take this to the top right, and he's going to have to screw on and off the side and top cushion to get back out. Oh, he's gone for one cushion, controlled it very well, but he's still tricky. Just shows if he'd been 2-3 inches further up the table on that previous shot, then this would have been routine.
You sometimes see that with shots like that it's very difficult sometimes just to pot your way out of trouble in pool, because inevitably you just almost end up making a bigger and bigger hole later on down the line of the break.
Absolutely. If you get out of position just slightly, you can recover the situation, but if you can't, then you seem to get further and further away, and now he's got to play a very, very difficult positional shot. He can pop both balls, but both balls would require really, really delicate and tricky positional shots. The white's going to be travelling a long way, whichever way he goes here.
Just forced into rushing that at a touch. I think he's going to come up really good on it.
Yeah, that's a fantastic shot. Craig has come up with 2 or 3 brilliant shots in this match. But unless this black goes to the bottom right, he's still got some work to get nicely on the black. It does go to the bottom right, so he's okay. This is similar to the yellow he missed 2 frames ago.
Not an easy break there at all, and he gave himself a bit of a problem as well with a slightly loose positional shot. And sometimes that's all it takes, a couple of inches to nearly derail a frame, but he's done well there to recover it, and he is now 1 frame away.
Yeah, the key stat there, 4 dry breaks from 4 and 3 reverse dishes for Craig. So Craig is really punishing these dry breaks from Greg.
Just goes to show what we said about how important the break is as well.
Yeah.
If it's not quite going your way, it's so difficult to get into a game. That's exactly what Greg's experiencing here. And there's a good fair chance that he might want to play his last shot in the competition.
Yeah, big break here from Craig, and Greg would certainly fear that. But he has to stay positive and believe a dry break here from Craig, and he can then return with a reverse dish of his own, and then hope that his break can get going and he can start to put a bit of pressure and see if he can get closer to Craig in this match.
Well, now we're in for an interesting frame. That break is not only dry from Craig Marsh, but just look at how these balls are situated. This is an awkward table.
It's awkward unless these 2 reds plant, and if these 2 reds plant to start with, the 2 reds to the top right, all the reds in the bottom half of the table are very simple, and it looks like he can make the plant. It's just these 3 reds in the top half of the table that are going to be tricky. Even if once he makes the plant, they're still going to be tricky, these 2 balls.
Reds in play.
That's well controlled to stay on the ball he was planting. I think he would probably like to play this red to the top left now, and just maybe with a trace of left-hand side, just come inside the yellow that he's next to try and play on the red that he's next to now. If he can do that, then the rest of this finish will just open up nicely for him. He almost wants to get the white 2-3 inches lower than where it is now off this next shot.
He decides to swing around, wants that to keep on going.
Yeah, he's decided to go swing it around with right-hand side, come off 2 cushions to get to the same place, and he's pretty good on this. He'll be happy. Yeah, he's just got to make the pot, and there's red over the bottom left. So as long as he makes the pot, he'll be on the next ball.
Oh, as long as he makes the pot. As long as he makes the pot. Famous last words.
That was a tricky pot. That was one of those pots that can be missed. Didn't expect him to miss it, but it could be missed, that ball.
Here we see it. Just caught it a little thick. That's all it took. Played it the right way.
So what damage has he done? It's a nice start from Craig. He's played the first yellow off the black just to open up the centre pocket area. The only yellow that really poses a problem is the yellow nearest the left centre pocket that's close to the rail. It's difficult to see whether, if he gets right behind that, he might be able to drop that in the centre pocket. If he can't, then he might be able to double it once he's cleared the other yellow out the way. Or depending on the angle he gets on it, he might be able to just bump into it. You can just see how it's quite acute, that pot.
Yeah, the one on the left is the ball you're referring to, and that is very tight.
Yeah, you can see that's why he's played into it, and that's very good.
He's actually played some lovely shots in this match, Craig Marsh. Really has. We've seen that wonderful plant in frame 5, terrific double to win the 6th frame. He's played some superb positional shots as well.
Yeah, the white's he's got to do a little bit of mileage for the white here, because he can't play on the yellow above the black next. So he's got the yellow to the right centre, and then he's got the yellow to the bottom of the table, and then he's going to have to come back up the top of the table. So he's going to be moving the white up and down. So there is a fraction of hope for Greg, but not much. I think he might be a little thin on this. Yeah. The issue with this shot is that if he was a little bit straight on it, he could just screw straight up the table. He might be too thin that he might be going quite close to that black and yellow. Really needs to get into this to be able to just screw past them. Yeah, that's a much better shot than it looked.
Played that brilliantly, didn't he?
Yeah, really had to get into that.
And ultimately, despite a pretty difficult and arduous start for Craig Marsh, ultimately in the end he has made much lighter work of that semi-final than he might have done. Played really, really well towards the end of that match, and with a few champagne shots is through to tonight's final. Those are the final stats. 6-2 the win. The key stat there, though, you feel there, Simon, is those reverse dishes.
Yeah, 4 dry breaks from 4 from Greg, and Craig really punished him. Craig's probably made one mistake in the match and made 2 or 3 fantastic shots to win some frames when it looked like he might run into problems. So fantastic performance from Craig, but from Greg's side of the table, he'll just be very frustrated with the way the chances went against him.
Here we see all 4 of them, the dry breaks from Greg. You won't want to watch this back, put it that way, but you just see here that the element of the misfortune, that not a single one of those balls on the move has ended up in a bag.
Yeah, and I'd say that at least 3 of those he's hit very, very well. One of them you could say he's not given it quite as much as he could do, but the other 3 he's hit brilliantly, and he's been very unlucky to come up dry in all of them, but that's unfortunately the way the pool goes sometimes.
It certainly can. Well, we have our second semi-final coming up after the break. It's Kevin Barton taking on Corey Rees, and it's after this. Well, usually you just get a good, so you must be doing all right. Yeah, welcome back to Cardiff. Delighted to say, joined by the winner of our first semi-final. Craig, first of all, how do you feel?
Yeah, good. Yeah, I felt like I played all right. Greg didn't get a lot of luck on the break, as everyone could see, but I'll take it, definitely. Yeah.
And in terms of the fact you just played the same player for the third time in 3 days, what was that dynamic like heading into this one?
Yeah, it was a little bit strange because I won the last two, so I was like sort of thinking, well, is it his turn now to get a bit of luck? But unfortunately for him, it wasn't, and I got it. You know.
And just talk us through a couple of those shots in the middle of that match, in particular the plant in frame 4 and also the double off the top cushion to win frame 5.
Yeah, I went reds, and I was always going to leave that plant anyway because I knew the other red was going to go over the hole somewhere. And the double, I could have played safe, but it's not really in my nature, so I don't really do that. But glad I'd been gutted if he snookered me, and I didn't. I didn't get another shot, so I always like to go for it and play my shots anyway.
Well, we enjoyed watching that style of play. In terms of our second semi-final, what are your thoughts on it as we look ahead to it?
Well, I'm not really sure, but Kev doesn't play a lot, so there's not a lot of pressure on it really. But and Corey's a great player. He's from Wales anyway as well. So I think it'll be a good one, and viewers be treated, I think.
Absolutely. Well, congratulations. We look forward to seeing you in the final.
Cheers. Thank you. Ta.
Let's take a look at how he got there. those are the highlights of our first semi-final. This is what we've got to look forward to in our second. Kevin Barton taking on Corey Rees in the semi-final. Here, race to 6, same as the first one.
Second semi-final.
And it should be an interesting one here. You see that on the left, Kev Barton, chairman of the IPA, and still very much a player. And he's been joining us on the commentary on FreeSports fairly regularly. He's been talking himself down in a major way this last week, Simon. And I think we should expect the unexpected here.
Kev's a fantastic player, but you cannot play very well if you play once a month, if that. He doesn't play from one tournament to the next, and when he does turn up, he won't play at all other than his matches. There's zero practice, and I really do mean zero. So Craig touched on it. He said there was zero expectations on Kev, but there is some personal pride in place. So I hope for his sake that he plays well and pushes Corey all the way.
He really got into that break, and he gets one down. That cluster to the north of the table, though, is going to give him a couple of issues. And the self-proclaimed king of the telestrator is going to have to get his protractor out for this one.
Yeah, he's got an option to go. He could go yellows. He could take the yellow to the top left now. He might be able to pop this yellow in here and then fire into that area off this next shot. He's left it just a fraction straight, if that's what that was his option.
Yeah, he's just taking a look at it there. You can see it. Even when he's playing, he's still drawing the lines for us with his cue in that one.
Yeah.
This is there an element of a hit and hope to this, because he's relying on so many balls moving in different areas?
Yeah, well, I think he's come back just an inch too far, and I don't think he's got an option to play into that area now. If he has, he's got to really, you can see how straight he is now. He may just have to drop this in, and possibly the one nearest the pocket goes. So it does. It looks like the one nearest the pocket does go, because he's played on it. He does have this goes in here. Can he screw into that red just to develop the other yellow? That's what he's going to be looking at.
There you see, he's got the angle. Oh, and it just jumps out at him. Had to play it with a little bit of pace to develop the red and kick it away. But we've seen that actually happen a couple of times in this Champions Cup, where players have played into the middle a little bit too quick, and that is the one pocket on the table where it does have that potential to do that.
Yeah, if he just drops that in on that line, it goes in every time. He's played that with a lot of pace, and it's just hit the corner of the pocket and come out, and that can happen at that pace.
So Corey Rees comes to the table then. Didn't have a clear shot really to take it on.
Yeah, he's got he would have a messy finish if he wanted to go for a clearance. So he had the option to gain some control in this frame, and he's taken it. Kev can't. He can only really see the yellow next to the red, just that he's closest to, but he can't do anything off that. I don't think he can see the yellow at the bottom end of the table, so his options here are very, very limited. He'll be looking for an area in the table where he can leave Corey at arm's length, but with the red over the pocket, it's going to be very difficult for him to find anywhere to hide the white.
Yeah, it's difficult, because you're automatically thinking baulk cushion,
Extension goal.
and even then he's got to be precise, not to leave the one over the top pocket as we look at it, as he mentioned, but also not the one in baulk to the left as we look at it now, over the middle. There really isn't many hiding places here for Kev.
And this is where 45 seconds, even with a 30-second shot clock, is going to be very tough, because this is so difficult to find anywhere on the table to hide the white that he hasn't really got enough time to come up with anything here.
Now that's a clever shot.
Yeah, he tried to cover. He tried to use the yellow to cover the red over the bottom pocket and get the white to the top corner and try and cover the ones into the middle. But unfortunately, I think Corey can see a couple of different options.
Yeah, it was a nice idea, just potentially lacked the time to really execute that how he wanted to.
Yeah, I mean, his margin of error on that shot was minuscule. He really didn't have anything to play on. Tiniest error on the area on the table. So Corey's now, he's got the red to the left centre. He just wants to screw into the yellow, or screw into the red, either or, to just open up that red. He may drop it in. It looks like, yeah, just see where he's pointing the cue. That red does go into the other centre pocket, so he can just roll this through and doesn't need to play a cannon, which, if you don't have to, is always a better option.
Yeah, he's done exactly that.
You see he played that with an awful lot of left-hand side, just to straighten the white up off the cushion and to stay on this red. Corey's a fantastic young player from Wales, and he was very disappointed that he didn't quite finish high enough in the rankings last season to be offered professional status, and I know it's one of his goals for this season. He's one of the players that I look for in the amateur draw. I always expect him to go deep and close to winning them. I'm kind of really looking forward to see how he goes over the next 2 or 3 years, because I really do rate his game.
And he's one of the players that in an open draw you're always trying to avoid in the early rounds, I'm guessing.
Absolutely, yeah. It would be one of the worst draws you could get.
Extension call.
Corey there, just calling his extension.
The reason he's just taking a little bit longer on this, he's got quite a lot of angle on this red, and he's going to be going, he would like to have been a little bit straighter, but he couldn't get straighter on it. He's going to be going close to those two reds on the right hand side, so he just needs to control the white and avoid them both.
He played that with an awful lot of slide, and to get where he is now, it's a really good result for him.
Yeah, that was a much better shot than it looked. That was really well controlled.
You always seem to notice, as soon as that amount of slide is played on a shot, how much more difficult the pot is. Requires an incredible amount of control.
Yeah, and any flick on the red could have gone wrong, and he had to go very close to it to get to the position he did. So just on both sides of that was a fantastic shot.
When he gets away with that, just puts his hand up to Kev. That's a bit of a result there for Corey. And now, is he on a ball with his second one? He's obviously very pleased that he didn't go in off.
He's still on the ball to the top left, but it's a trickier pot than it needs to be, and he needs to get from the cushion or from the pocket. He needs to control the white nicely. Just makes it missable.
Played it really well though.
Really confidently played as well. Really punched it in nicely and recovered the situation.
It's been interesting actually this week. In both of the weeks of the competition so far up in Washington, we've seen in the early frames, and it's really taken both players in all of our matches some time to get into the game. That's not really been the case in this one. Yes, Kev did miss a ball, but the pace he played out was very missable. And Corey has settled into this game quite beautifully, really.
Yeah, he's gone about this finish very nicely. Just misjudged one positional shot, but he was able to recover the situation, and yeah, he's got straight into the match and looks very sharp.
He does indeed. The one zip then to Corey Rees, played that very nicely. And this is the recent tournament history for the chairman, Kev Barton, and you can see there sort of almost what you were saying, really, Simon, in that he plays so little, it's difficult to get deep into tournaments, but he did have a bit of a better time of it in the Welsh Open at the weekend. Yeah,
he can't really look too much at his form. I mean, that would just be a little bit unfair, because he just doesn't, he's not really a player anymore because of the amount of time and effort he puts in as his role as chairman. But I know he was really pleased with the way he played this weekend just gone, and that match against Neil Raybone in the Welsh Open, he was 3-3 in that match and was pushed Neil all the way, and Neil won the last 4 frames from the break with 4 finishes from the break. So Neil's needed his best to beat Kevin that match.
And Corey really got into that break. Balls are flying around the table at all angles. Some cue power has this young man.
Yeah, it's a great break from Corey, really powerful, big split. Looks like he's just going to drop this red off the yellow, open up that pocket, and now all the reds are on the open and everything's got a pocket. The only one that he's going to have to be careful with is the one on the rail.
Yeah, fairly open setup this for Corey Rees, who will be looking at this table and thinking, in a few minutes' time, he should be 2-0 up. He has to get there first.
Yeah, there's just a couple of areas where the black goes to the right centre. He's just got to be careful getting on it, and he's got loads of margin of error. I'm just looking at areas where it could go wrong, really. Wouldn't surprise me if he leaves the red down the rail as his last ball.
Just to come across for the black.
Yeah, if he's just got enough angle on that ball down the rail, then the white will just be natural to get into an area where the black will go nicely into the right centre. You just see where he's looking now.
Yeah, he's almost plotting his shot in 3 or 4 shots' time. And something that I've learnt from yourself is that players always think back from the black.
Yeah,
an interesting philosophy when you're watching Paul, and he's gone actually to deal with his problem early.
Yeah, he's gone a slightly different way. I thought he might leave that one till last because it would give quite a natural position onto the black, but if he got straight on that, then it would make the black tricky and missable. So now he's gone straight after the one on the rail. And now if he makes this, he could go a couple of different ways, but the black, he just needs to be careful getting on the black if he uses one of the reds at the top of the table. Ideally, he'd like to leave the red to the right centre as his last ball now.
This isn't the easiest queuing, and he's made that look far easier than it was.
Yeah, that's a very good shot now, because if he can just stun this in, then it's a natural positional shot from the red to the top. So if he takes the red to the top right now, he'll leave a natural positional shot on the red to the top left. And he wants to get on the red to the right centre as his last ball. Either, if he gets straight on it, he can just stun back to take the black to the corner, and if he's got angle on it, he can play down to take the black into the middle.
He's okay on that. A little bit more angle than perhaps needed.
Yeah, I think another inch he would be, if we're being critical, but he's okay. He's just about thick enough on this to control it.
See there where he's pointing his cue. That's where he wants the white ball to end up, and it should be a 2-0 lead here for the Welshman.
Yeah, it's just that yellow above the black. It's just in the way enough. The reason being to be perfect on the black, if you're playing for it in the corner, the closer you get to the yellow, the better you are on the black. Looks like he's got enough angle to, he could do either here. He can either play on it in the corner or the middle. Oh, that's very well done.
Or play the yellow and solve the problem altogether.
Yeah, it takes a lot of confidence to play into the yellow like that, because if you catch that yellow just too full, then the yellow goes onto the black and you leave yourself nothing. So just shows you how confident he's feeling, that he knows exactly where he was cannoning that yellow to leave himself on this black.
Yeah, I think confidence has been really the key element here almost from Corey Rees. He's really started well. Seems to be in fine form. His eyes in. And he's queuing nicely. And this is what he's been up to recently. Went to round 3 of the British Amateur in October, and last 16 of the European Amateur in August of last year, and he got a bit of a harsh draw against Mark Farnsworth in the Welsh Open at the weekend as well.
Yeah, I think, and I mean this because I rate Corey so highly. He'd be disappointed with his form over the last 6 to 12 months on the IPA tour. He probably has expected more of himself. I certainly have expected to see him slightly deeper certainly in the amateur events. But he has had a couple of difficult draws in the Open, as you've seen there with Mark Farnsworth. So, and he's got time on his side to get there.
Yeah, back breaking. Then in frame 3, and that one, you can tell by his face, is going to come up dry.
Yeah, it didn't seem to get a great explosion off this pack. It almost seemed to be, you can see a lot of balls just stayed in the bottom half of the table. I mean, he hit it well enough and probably deserved to make a ball the way he hit it, but probably not quite as well as he hit the first break.
What's Corey thinking here in terms of his colour selection?
Yeah, I think if he goes reds, then it all depends on the reds in the sort of triangle area. I think do they go to the left centre? Does one of them go to the left corner? Does the red on the top rail go to the top left? I think if they do, I mean, yellows are also an option. He could take the yellow down the rail, screw into the other yellow to open that up, but that might not leave him on anything. So I think, weighing things both up, I think reds are probably his way here. I think the red at the top of the table goes to past the yellow, so he can get on it by playing on the red to the right. So that doesn't become too much of a problem.
Yeah, he has opted for the extension, just to give him a bit more time to make his decision, and it is reds he chooses.
Reds in play.
I expect him to want to get rid of the red at the top end of the table sooner rather than later. The only problem being, if you finish straight on the red at the top of the table, you can't really get on the next red very nicely, and if you've got too much angle, it makes the pot very difficult. So it's a delicate one to get absolutely right.
Yeah, and I think he's looking at that line of attack pretty instantaneously.
Yeah, it's probably it's the tricky pot now. He's come an inch further than a very controllable pot. This is now he really needs to make sure of this pot, but the white is going to be travelling down the table nicely, so the white is very controllable. It's all about the pot.
Yeah, that red in the middle of the table is a nice little insurance policy for him. All on the pot, this. Has he overcut it? He has. He has. So Kev back to the table, and almost similarly to the very first frame, when it looked like a good chance to win the frame opened up, a slightly problem area has given the opponent a chance. Kev Barton guilty of it in frame 1, Corey Rees guilty of it in frame 3.
Yeah, and he's been a little bit fortunate. He hasn't really left Kev an open pot, but Kev may play a double now, so doubling this back to where his hand is and cannoning it in the other yellow down the rail.
Well, I think he's been practicing without telling anyone.
And that's a brilliant shot from Kevin. That's he's been a fraction unlucky, because he was hoping to catch that yellow on rather than cushion first. He was hoping just to catch the yellow and nudge it down towards the pocket, and then he would have been on that yellow next. He hasn't really finished on another ball, so he may be forced into trying to find a safety shot unless he can see the yellow that he just cannoned into and to play a tricky plant.
Yeah, I think that's potentially his only option. I think the plant's on. He's taking a look at it now, and it's on, but as soon as you've got that much distance between the two balls, it becomes eminently missable.
Yeah, and that yellow is it's not like it's right in the centre of the pocket. He needs to really, he has to almost overcut the first yellow to be able to get the potting angle on the second yellow. This is very, very missable.
Essentially playing two shots in one hit. Oh, he's hit the red first.
Yeah, he's just miscued. He just flicked the cushion with his tip of his cue, and it's caused him to miscue and hit the red. So he'll be very annoyed with that.
Yeah, just inspecting the damage. And that was a very precise shot, and you can actually see the mark that's been left by his cue there on the cushion. Did catch it pretty heavily.
Yeah, he's just nudged the reds though by playing that shot, by fouling there, and just made those reds slightly awkward. And Corey's got a free shot here to develop them as he wants, but it's not guaranteed to come up brilliantly. Looks like he's going to play the yellow over the pocket just to clear that away, and potentially he might look to go into the yellow or into the reds, or yellow into that, then into the reds.
Yeah, oh well, that's the last thing he wanted. Corey Rees very much wanted to pot that yellow and get it out of the way.
Yeah, it's absolutely, that's a big surprise for him to miss that.
One of the things about 8-ball, when you've got the free shot, you're very much permitted to play any shot you like, and quite often you will see players pot one of their opponent's balls just to clear some room. It's perfectly legal, very common tactic, but you've got to get it right, and Corey Rees very much hasn't on that one, because not only has he covered the pocket with his opponent's ball. He's also not canning the reds out as he wanted.
Yeah, he's still got an option for a finish here, though. He's not played the best shot, and he'll be annoyed with that, but he's got to refocus and go again, because he still has a finish on.
Wanted that to go, though. Was a tough shot. Shows how confident he is, though, because he did, of course, have the one over the top left pocket as we look at it from the main camera, which was a simple pot just to get himself back in.
Yeah, he wanted to take that one just to give him a bit more control with the positional side of the finish, but he'll be annoyed to miss that and surprised to miss that, and it's not a ball you'd ever really expect him to miss. Maybe he was still frustrated with how the first shot in that after the foul went. Now for Kevin, it's all about how he gets on the yellow at the top of the table. He's got an angle now to pot the yellow to the centre, and he's going to track the white up the table and try and get onto the yellow at the top of the table.
Oh, that one wiped its feet.
Yeah, and he hasn't got the position he wanted. You can see it. He's come up a good foot short. Well, probably near a 2 foot short, actually, to be honest.
I think almost because he's nearly missed it thick. He wanted to be on the other side of the pocket entirely. Yeah,
that's more the reason he's come up so short is more about the fact that he missed it thick, as you said. It's killed the white. If he makes that the centre of the pocket, then the white will be an extra foot at least up the table, and probably a couple of inches further to the left, so this yellow would still be on. And now he's had one good chance to get up there. He needs another good angle to get back up there.
He's gone for the deep screw. He's a little unlucky, actually. Little wry smile from Kev. I'm not sure that yellow at the top can cut back in.
Yeah, he didn't want it. He wasn't playing to cannon the yellow. He was just trying to cannon. He almost wanted the line to be nearer the red over the pocket than the yellow in the centre of the top rail. He may be forced into playing a double on this yellow now, because I don't think he has options with the yellows at the bottom of the table.
He's really got to. He really has to pot his way out of trouble. We mentioned this in the last game, where one errant positional shot can really, hit you hard later on in the frame. And that's not gone Kev's way. Yellow's pretty much ended up back where he started, and Corey's back in.
No, the problem for Kevin, he just doesn't play enough, and when you're a competitor and you're so used to playing at a high level, when your standard dips, it can frustrate you so much. So feel for him a little bit the way he's gone so far in this match. For Corey, those two reds, they look slightly awkward in the middle of the table, but I think he's going to swing round off 2 cushions. You just saw he was pointing his cue there. He's got this red to the bottom right. He can swing round 2 cushions. The top one of those two reds will go to that corner if he gets a good position on it. He obviously felt, rather than trying to play a precise positional shot, he chose to go into those 2 reds. He was trying to come off 2 cushions and into them rather than play on them.
I'm not sure. He might still be able to pop the top one as we look at it now. Depends on if he's run far enough. I think he might have done.
Well, he's going to take it on. I don't think he's sure. Okay, he's not going to play the red directly. He is looking at playing this red off the yellow. You can see him pointing the cue at the yellow. So red off the yellow, very, very difficult shot.
Forced into rushing it as well. He's already used his extension, shot clock ticking. Didn't play it in the time he'd have liked it. It was a very tough shot, that real billiards shot.
Yeah, if he was right behind it and close to it, you sort of expect him to get a little bit closer to it than that. But from where he was and rushing with the shot clock, that was extremely tough. But he hasn't left Kevin anything really great to go at. Looks like he's going to play the long double. Trying to probably take the pocket more than actually make the pot. No, he was just all about the pot there. He tried to screw. The reason I thought he might take the pocket was because it's going to be so hard to get on the next yellow. But he's tried to get right the way back down the bottom of the table. But that was really, really difficult.
Frame now should be Corey's. There's only real difficult pot left, and that's dispatched pretty nicely. Should just swing around the houses now to be on to the black, and should be a 3-0 lead for Corey Rees from here. And I think that'll be the first frame where Kev will be really disappointed that he's not registered himself on the scoreboard.
Yeah, he's had a couple of really good opportunities there. They were tricky. There wasn't, they weren't absolute, sitters that he's missed. But he will be annoyed that he hasn't found a way to really win that frame. Both players had a couple of good chances to win the frame.
So 3-0 leads Corey Rees. 3 on the spin from the start of the game. And he's looking good, is the young Welshman, to make it an all-Wales final here in Cardiff. These are the stats, as you can see. Balls potted is predictably one-sided, but for someone who's won no frames, 8 balls potted means that Kevin Barton has had his opportunities.
Yeah, it's been a little bit more about the cue ball control. He's had that one missed pot where he sort of spat it out from the middle pocket, but he's not finished. When he's missed, it's because he's either finished on he's on a long double, or he's had to play a plant. It's been not quite precise enough with his positional play to make the pots on.
And we were having a little bit of a laugh and a joke with Kev earlier, he was saying he couldn't wait to play on the TV, but he thinks it'd have been more suited to the Comedy Channel, etc., etc. But make no mistake, he's a fierce competitor, and he will really want to give a bit of account of himself here.
Yeah, I think that's the hardest thing for him, the fact that he will joke about it and say that he doesn't expect too much because he doesn't play very often, but he also knows the standard that he could play at and what he used to be able to do, and because he doesn't play and because he doesn't practice, he can't quite do it to the level he used to be able to, and it's really frustrating for him. But as soon as the match starts, he's the same. He is a professional pool player and he's very competitive, so it's a very frustrating thing for him.
It's a really good break by Corey Rees that time around at the start of this 4th frame. Just taking a look at the state of the table. It's not necessarily the easiest lie, just having a little look around is Corey, and I think I've seen him look happier.
Yeah, I think that he really wants to be yellows, but he hasn't got an easy yellow on. He may not have a yellow on at all, so he may be forced into going reds when he would really like to be yellows. I think that's why he looks so frustrated.
Yeah, calls extension. No real hassle. It's going to be interesting, actually, if players get a little bit more savvy with calling their extensions and just allow that clock to tick down towards the end, because he could have had himself an extra 10 seconds there.
Yeah, I think the thing with the shot clock is that we used to have a 90-second shot clock after the break and then a minute for every shot from thereafter without the extension, and it's now been changed. It's slightly shorter to 45 seconds, but you can take the extension when you like. But I think as this tournament goes on, I think we'll see a lot of players use their extension straight after the break, where it gives them that's where you normally have the most thinking time, or need the most thinking time, I should say.
So Corey Rees pots the red.
Yeah, this is tough.
Oh, it drops, and it's a really good positional shot as well. Has tied the black up ever so slightly.
Yeah, he purposely played that cannon onto the black to leave him on this red, but he would be annoyed that it's gone to where it has. He would like to just, if you watch the cannon here, he wanted to hit it just a fraction fuller so it would pop further through the yellows. It still goes to the bottom right, and he doesn't need to move it or play any cannons. He can just play on it, but he needs to be careful when he tries to play onto it.
Yeah, I suppose we are nitpicking in that sense. He has very much got a shot on the black, but just sort of like the option to have a bit of margin for error, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. And the red nearest the left centres, he needs to get right behind, and it is slightly tricky. It may be difficult to leave that to your last ball to be able to track down the table to get on the black nicely. So there's no good obvious ball to get on the black nicely. So there is quite a bit of work to be done in this finish.
Yeah, indeed.
We can see this black does go into this pocket here, and he has a decent margin of error to sort of get on it somewhere in there. But for the 3 reds he's got left, it could be quite difficult to get to that area.
Yeah, he knows where he's going to leave the white for this final red, which will be the one in the middle of the table. He's got the option to screw down almost for the black in the bottom right. Is that what he's thinking?
Yeah, absolutely. He wants to be just off straight, just high of this last red that's in the middle of the table, so that he can screw past the yellow, either on and off the side cushion or just straight past the yellow and leave himself on the black. He has got enough margin of error if he leaves a good angle. If he finishes straight on this red, then he's got a slight problem.
And he's played that nicely.
Yeah, that looks almost perfect. It looks just absolutely nice and controllable. Just screw back, miss the yellow, and you've got enough room to get on the black. Really well worked out, this finish from Corey.
Don't want to go too much further. I think he's okay. Just concentrates on the pot. Could well be 4-0 hit. And it is. Nicely played. A rueful slap of the knee of appreciation from Kev Barton. He knows Corey's playing well, and almost in a sense has to give him that. But he's not enjoying it at the moment.
Yeah, Corey's played really well. He's made a couple of mistakes in frame 3, but other than that, he's played a fantastic match so far. And Kev's had a couple of opportunities, and that's what he'll be disappointed about.
He has got his opportunity to get back into it here off his break, which actually has been all right, especially in his first one.
Yeah, he's hit the first break really well, gave himself a good chance, and just missed that pot, which cost him the finish. He needs to make one now, and if he's got any hopes in this match, he really needs to make a break and hopefully make a break in dish and start to put some pressure on Corey and remind him that he can still play. Oh, he's hit that break brilliantly.
He really hit that with menace, didn't he? And only one down, could have easily been more. He hit that so hard, the white jumped up and still managed to spin.
Yeah, that's absolutely fantastic break. Maybe a little bit of frustration came out with that break. He really got through the balls really well there, and he's been rewarded with a fantastic split. He's got a really good chance here. I fully expect him to go reds, and I expect him to take this finish out.
Reds in play.
Okay, I thought he maybe didn't quite have the angle. I thought he might try and come a couple of inches back and clear the reds at the top of the table, but he's been left on the red to the bottom left corner as we look now.
I'm just surveying the table, and that is the option he's going to take. It's queuing nicely there. A couple of stand shots which are far more difficult than they look if you're queuing badly.
Yeah, no, that was one that if you're feeling it out there, that he could easily have missed. The way the match has gone so far and the way he's played, he could easily have missed that one, but he's queuing nicely. He just needs this finish is all about, you know, working out your pattern and just working your way through it, keeping close cue ball control.
Now has the option to play up on those two balls at the top of the table. I'd be pleased to finally play a bit more of a delicate shot. Generally speaking, you know, players don't like necessarily playing with too much pace on the ball.
Yeah, I think players would just like to play nice, soft and controllable stun shots and soft screw shots and just soft roll throughs. You don't really want to be moving the white around the table unnecessarily. It's all about close cue ball control and keeping your patterns nice and simple. He's going to look to clear these 2 reds at the top of the table and then come down the table for the last 2. The only red I really see him having a problem with is the red by the black. If he finishes with a lot of angle on that, then because to finish straight on that, the black would be in the way, so you could end up with a lot of angle on that red, which means the white could be travelling either onto the last red or the black. I suspect he may leave it for his last ball. Looks like he's got just enough angle to screw down the table into an area where he would be on a choice of the 2 reds. I'm not sure if the red at the bottom of the table goes to the bottom right, but it certainly goes to the bottom left. And if he's sort of screwed down and played on that, if he came up just short, he may be on the one to the left centre as well.
Yeah, he's called his extension, so he's got a little bit of time on this shot.
He's nowhere. He obviously didn't like the angle he had left on that red. I thought he had just enough angle to screw down the table, but he obviously didn't, because he tried to play that with topspin and to get to the area that I was talking about. And now I think he's totally snookered on both balls.
That is an unhappy face, and he's just used his extension as well, so he's not got an awful lot of time to think this one through. Is there any option he can look at here? Yeah,
no, this is a case of not fouling. Hit the red solid, try and either hope it goes in somewhere. He's not really playing for a pocket with it. And he's missed the red, which is a disaster really, because in that situation you think, just don't foul. You know, maybe I might mess his table up if I hit it solid. I might fluke it somewhere. But to foul, you're really sort of giving the frame away, to be honest.
He knows that, you can tell. And Corey just uses his free shot there to move the red out of the way of what he will now see as his black, and also put himself in a good position for these yellows down the cushion.
Yeah, he's worked out his finish. He's on the one down the rail next, and then he'll have already worked out how he wants to go through these yellows, but there is nothing in the way.
This is the table that every player dreams of coming to when there's so little in the way. To just your own balls, it's a practice session.
Yeah, that's absolutely. The more that when your opponent's at the table and they're working their way through a finish, and you're thinking, well, if they do miss, all the balls are out the way, and that, you know, in this situation, yellow should always win. They don't always, but you know, these are the sort of opportunities that players at this level, you know, they tend to always take.
Oh, he played that at some pace. That was a risky shot.
We saw earlier with a couple of his shot choices just how confident he is with the way he's going about some of these shots.
And that'll be a real sickness to watch for Kev Barton as well, in watching the confidence that Corey's playing with. And it'll be going through his head, will I get another chance?
Yeah, no, quite, you know, it's not beyond the realms of possibility that Kevin's played the last shot in this match. It's Corey. If Corey takes these out, it will be his break in the next frame.
And it is really impressive, actually, how comfortable Corey's playing. He's playing with a lot of freedom. Looks really, really relaxed. And we've seen so far a couple of the, perhaps the lower ranked players, or indeed the amateurs so far in the Champions Cup, have automatically just been a bit nervy. As soon as the television cameras are here, it automatically feels like a bigger occasion, a bit more nerves creep in. We've seen absolutely none of that with Corey.
No, first visit to the table, he looked, he played a nice safety, and then he took out a very nice finish in the first frame and just looked absolutely comfortable out there, and made a couple of mistakes in frame 3. Other than that, he's played an absolutely brilliant match.
So 5-0 and 1 from home for Corey Rees. Nicely done, and he punishes the mistake from Kev Barton. There's the stats, and Corey is nearly home and dry here. He's been particularly impressive. As you can see, one less break as well. Simon rightly pointing out he has the break in the 6th frame, and a good opportunity to make it 6 frames to 0. We'll find out if you can do that after the break. And welcome back to the Canton Club here in Cardiff. Our second semi-final of the evening, and Corey Rees is one away from reaching that final. We've already seen Craig Marsh dispatch Greg Batten in our first semi-final. A ruthless performance And speaking of ruthless, well, Corey Rees is fighting for a dictionary definition of the word with the way he's playing at the moment. 5-0 he leads, another crunching break. And Kev Barton here just having a little peer onto the table just to see if there's any way he can get himself back into this match. What's the verdict?
I think he's going to be fearing the worst here. Absolutely huge break from Corey. There isn't any problems or anything in the way from him winning the match in this visit. He'll look to clear the yellows at the top of the table. Yeah, just drop that in, clear the yellow at the top, and then the three at the bottom are lined up for him, and the black is over the pocket for him. So very difficult to see how he can go wrong here.
See there, just at the top of the shot, Kev Barton's foot tapping away. He's itching to get back at the table. I'm not sure he's going to have the opportunity. Corey's been really, really impressive in this game.
He really has. So the only thing that can really go wrong from here is if he leaves a bad angle. So if he takes the yellow he's nearest to, he'll be playing on the one just below that. And if he gets the wrong side of that yellow, he'll be difficult for him to get on the yellow at the bottom of the table. You just see that if he just plays the natural stun shot and doesn't get straight on that yellow, if he goes beyond straight, then the white's going away from the yellow at the bottom. So he may even screw on and off the cushion to guarantee finishing high.
Yeah, good call. That's exactly what he's done. He's played that really nicely, actually.
Yeah, really, really nice shot. And this looks just natural, just to roll this through, perhaps on and off the cushion, just to leave a little bit of angle on the yellow along the bottom rail. But even if he finishes straight, the black's so close to the centre pocket that it's just a drop in.
Yeah, Corey Rees has been mighty impressive in this match. Yes, Kev Barton has given him a couple of opportunities, make no mistake about it, but Corey has been lethal when presented with those opportunities. He's broken fantastically well, and it looks like Craig Marsh is going to have a big old competition in the final. We've seen our two finals so far in Washington. There's been a touch procession-like.
Yeah, I expect
I don't think that this one's going to do.
I think Corey's in the form and in the mood to really push Craig in this final. So a great performance from Corey.
It really is. Corey Rees takes the second semi-final, takes the final frame of that in no time at all. Might even be the quickest frame we've seen so far in this Champions Cup. It felt like it was there and gone in seconds. 3-all in breaks, 6-zip in frames won. It's a whitewash for Corey Rees. Really, really impressive display. And we will find out if he can take on Craig Marsh and indeed pull off an upset after the break. Welcome back to Cardiff with the winner of our second semi-final, Corey Rees. Congratulations on the performance. How did that feel?
Yeah, it felt pretty good, to be honest. Just a little bit nervous before I started, but as soon as I got underway, it felt right. Felt right.
Yeah, I was going to say, we mentioned on commentary that the nerves didn't seem to play a part. You seemed to play a very natural game. Did you feel like you were queuing well right from the outset?
Well, yeah, the first frame was obviously big, but the balls were quite easy from the start. So once you start potting, it's just trying to be like being in the club, really.
And talk about the final. You've played your opponent plenty of times before. You looking forward to it?
Yeah, it should be good. Well, hopefully we both play like we just did, and it should be a good standard, really.
And I know you've played each other quite a lot. What's the sort of ratio like? Who's had the
I
best?
think it is pretty close. We've both. I mean, we've gone in spells. Say I've won like 2-3 in a row. He's won 2-3 in a row. It is at one point it seemed like we was playing each other every tournament, really.
Well, we're looking forward to this one then. Good luck in the final.
Thanks a lot. Cheers.
And let's take a look at how he managed to get there. Well, there we see how Corey Rees made this game. It's an all-Welsh affair in Cardiff. Seems fitting, really, here in week 3 of the IPA FreeSports Champions Cup of Pool. A race to 6 for the final. And it should be an absolute cracker because, Simon, for the first time really it feels like in the Champions Cup, both of our finalists are coming into the game having played really, really well in the semi-final. We saw in our first 2 weeks in Washington, the top seeds Farnsworth and McCarthy came in, they played well in their semi-final, but their opponents had to really grind out their win. This is the first one we've seen where they're both playing really well.
Yeah, that was very, very impressive from Corey and from Craig. And quite often, you know, Craig is the 2017 World Champion. He's one of the top seeds, and Corey is the amateur qualifier. And normally in this situation, you'd put Craig as a very big favourite, but they know each other so well, and they've played each other so often that there's going to be no fear factor from Corey. Corey's beaten Craig plenty of times, and this is actually a very, very even final.
Yeah, he just alluded to in our interview, and we spoke to it a little bit off camera as well about the relationship they have and how often they have played each other. And it is pretty even, which you might not expect from, you know, a high-ranking pro and an amateur who play each other a lot, but this should be a cracking final, especially with both of them playing so well. And an interesting fact here about Corey's cue, we didn't actually notice it in the last frame, but he actually broke with his partner's cue, who's also here tonight, and so his cue is feeling a little bit weak at the top, and he's not completely happy with it. Didn't want to take the risk of breaking with it. Luckily his partner's here tonight, and she brought hers. Yeah,
no, it reminds me, I spoke to him yesterday about it, and he said he was really worried about the state of his cue, and he was going to ask his partner to bring her cue so that he could use that to break with if necessary, and obviously that's what he's done.
Well, what a start for Craig Marsh. He's gone in off the break, and that is so unlucky, because actually it would have been a brilliant break if he hadn't have gone in off, and it was a complete fluke with the way the ball's worked out there.
Yeah, sometimes you screw straight in off, and sometimes you stun straight into the middle pockets, and it's down to you. But when you get kicked in off like that, you know, it is just bad luck, because he's hit the break really, really well, and he's going to fully expect to be 1-0 behind from that break as well. There was just that one red and yellow problem that Corey's able to use his free shot to open up, and now these yellows are very, very inviting for him.
Yeah, it's difficult to really see any sort of problem areas. Yellows look pretty open. Black's in the middle of the table.
Yeah, all the yellows have a pocket. Every yellow goes. For me, the only way this can really go wrong is the shot that when he goes from the bottom end of the table to the top end of the table to clear the two at the top. That's really the only shot that can go wrong, and he has a lot of margin of error for that shot.
Just with the cue elements, Simon. Obviously, it is the most vital instrument in the game of pool. That goes without saying. Will there be an element of distrust just lingering at the back of Corey's mind, or will that not really affect him too much?
I think if you'd asked me before the first match, or reminded me that there was an issue with the cue, I might have said there would be. But the way he played in that first match, I don't think he's got any issues playing with it. I think the only issue he has with it would be breaking with it, with that real power shot. Without, when he's not going to be using that cue to break with, I don't think it's going to be in his mind at all.
Confirm that we will be having a race to 7 in the final. A little bit of an extended game, which is nice to see, because just offers that little invitation for a bit of a comeback if need be.
Yeah, it's only one frame, but it does make a difference in the player's mind. It does. It can. You do feel like you can come back from 4-1 behind or 4-0 behind. Just that extra frame can make a difference.
And I noticed you there, Simon, in the break, having a bit of a chat with our defeated semi-finalist Kev Barton. What was his verdict?
I think
that you can repeat on air.
Yeah, he's just frustrated. He was a little bit annoyed with the way he played. He knows he had a couple of chances. He knows that miscue, I think, was really annoying. And the miscue he had in the centre when he was playing a plant and miscued and fouled. And he just thought a couple of nudges went against him as well. And it just wasn't his match. He's very annoyed and frustrated. But I'm sure he'll forget about it and move on to doing what he does best and being the chairman of this fantastic tour.
So a couple of shots here for Corey Rees, which are pretty routine. As you mentioned, every yellow had a pocket, and he hasn't had to do a huge amount with the white ball. It's all seemed very natural, the angles that they've worked out. And it should be a pretty good start here for Corey Rees. A straightforward first frame lead.
Yeah, one of those strange situations that both players after the break would have thought, oh, this is 1-0. But is he just...
Oh, well. Would you believe it?
That's an incredible mistake. He didn't need to be anywhere near that red. It's absolutely incredible that he's finished there. It looked like when he was lining up, he might play this with some top and left-hand side to play top cushion, side cushion, and then that red, he would be going into that red. Wouldn't have that as a problem, but he'd obviously decided just to play one cushion. But in truth, he had so much margin of error that it's really careless to finish there.
Extension called.
He's called his extension. And
well, all he's really got is to hit. He's going to come off the top cushion and try and hit into that black really solidly, and he's not really got, I don't think there's too much control on this shot. Well, he's going to go the other end of the table and do it that way, but there's not much control. You're just trying to hit it firm.
Foul, revisit, free table.
Well, just when it looked like it was going so right, it's all gone so wrong for Corey Rees. Misses the black, hits the red, and Craig Marsh now has a totally free table. No yellows on the table to disturb him. And Corey, I think there is got the look of a man who knows he's probably played his last shot of the frame, and he's not going to be potting the black. He'd be very surprised to see Craig waste this opportunity.
Yeah, Craig. Yeah, it was incredible to me to see that Corey could make that mistake. I'd be even more shocked if Craig doesn't take this finish out and go 1-0 up himself. He had a free shot. He didn't need to do anything with it. He's just potted and played position. When you've got a free shot, you can develop a ball if you need to. And in truth, he doesn't. Craig did have 2 balls on rails, or just off rails, but because he could get on with both ways, he could get right behind them. He's not going to miss those pots if he gets behind them. So, there shouldn't be any mistakes here.
This is maybe a little bit more difficult than he perhaps would have liked. But
Yeah, no, he's going to be thrilled, to be honest. It's some players may don't want to be playing these pots down the rails, but Craig is he won't ever think about missing a pot like this.
he played that perfectly, didn't he? Cued it beautifully, and he really has not taken his time about that whatsoever. Really punished Corey Rees, who started that frame so well, and to have one slack position on the black, that's all it took, and Craig Marsh has got himself right back into it and stolen the frame. Let's have a reminder of how Craig has been playing recently. Got to the quarter-final of the Welsh Professional, last 16 of the Open this weekend. He mentioned to me earlier on that he wasn't too happy with how the Welsh Open went for him, and the competition at the weekend went for him, but he wasn't overly unhappy because he just feels like he got beaten by better players on the day.
Yeah, I think he went into that event probably the first time, because last season as world champion he didn't play his best all year, so he probably went into that event, fresh season, feeling probably as confident as he has done, and felt like he prepared well, and he came up again. I think definitely I saw quite a bit of the professional match where he lost to Jordan Shepherd, and Jordan just played fantastic and had more chances, and that's the way the game goes. So you sort of say, well, fair play, well done. So I think he's feeling quite confident and excited for the season ahead.
And he'll be delighted to get the win in that first frame. Make no mistake, after going in off the break, it's every player's worst fear. Oh, and that one just drops for Corey Rees. You can just see a little wry smile there. He'll be delighted to get that one in.
Yeah, the interesting thing for me is to see how he handles making such a bad mistake in that first frame. He knows he should be 1-0 up and not 1-0 down, and he's been handed straight away another fantastic opportunity. These reds are just sitting very, very pretty for him. This is another finish that he knows he should be taking out.
And he should be pretty full of confidence, and I think that almost showed, most explicitly with the way he missed his positional shot, because he's cueing so naturally and so well, he almost didn't even think about it.
Yeah, no, he would have been just as shocked as I was that he's finished where he had. It was absolutely routine for him, so he's just got to forget about it and move on and put it out of his mind. And this is another finish where, if you're the opponent sat in the chair, you've already conceded the frame in your head, because these are so sort of routine for him. I guess the only thing here, he's going to take the one to the top left as we look, and you can just see where he's putting his cue now. He hasn't got a huge margin of error to get on the next red, but he's got enough, because he's only going to be moving the white a couple of inches after potting this red. And he's just stopped in his tracks. I think he may have just overrun this.
Can he see the potting angle of that red that he's closest to? Or even the red?
The fact that he's lining
the bucket.
The fact that he's lining up the next shot tells me that he probably is still on this red. And he is, yeah. He has overrun it. In terms of ideal position, would have been an inch or two to the left, because it would be easier just to stun down to the right. But he's still probably straight enough that he just dropped this back an inch or two.
Yeah, you can see there he was gun barrel straight in the end. He really, really didn't want to leave the margin of error that close.
Yeah, he did stop in his tracks thinking, I've overhit this again, but it's worked out okay, and now he's back in perfect position. He's got a choice here. He can either just screw this across to the side cushion, or possibly come up, use two cushions, top rail, side rail. He's got anywhere on the left-hand side of the table, white somewhere near the left centre pocket, and you're on the black, but anywhere on that left side, and you're going to have a shot at the black.
Now he has got a bit of previous with this shot in this match. Really wants to get this one right. And he has.
Yeah, this is when you've made such a bad mistake in the first frame. This, as routine as this black would normally be for Corey, this is one that if you are feeling frustrated with the previous frame, you could show it on this shot here. So he really needs to take care on this one.
This for 1-1 for Corey Rees. Bags it, no trouble. And we really do have a good final on our hands here. That's a break in the dish for Corey Rees, and that will really fill him with a lot of confidence after really throwing away the first frame. We just remind ourselves of Corey's performances in the last 6-7 months or so.
Yeah, he'll be disappointed he hasn't had deeper runs in the amateur events especially. He knows he really wanted to finish high enough up the amateur rankings so that he could be offered professional status last season, and missed out by a very, very fine margin. I think he finished a position or two outside of the ranking qualification area, so he'll be disappointed with that, and I know that's a big goal for 2018 for him.
Of course, winning the Champions Cup first round would go some way towards achieving that.
Yeah, absolutely. This will be definitely be a big match for him here.
Craig back at the table. White is safe this time around, and Craig mentioned actually just off camera before our interview after his semi-final win that he's not been breaking well at all weekend, and it seems like he's just got that mojo back today.
Yeah, he was really frustrated with his form with the break all weekend. I know that he wasn't breaking as well as he normally does, and normally as well as he expects to. So perhaps he is showing a bit more form with the break tonight. Has had a couple of dry breaks, but we have seen him with a couple of big breaks and rolled them in afterwards as well. So the reason he's shaking his head and looks frustrated is that his first shot here is tricky. If he can get a yellow, then the yellows aren't too bad. Just the yellow on the right centre pocket that's a problem.
I think he's trying to swing this all the way down the bottom left. Yes, he is, all the way through the gap. Lovely shot.
That is a really lovely shot. That was quite tight. I think he had the whole pocket just about, but he had to screw this in and out of bulk to get position. So it's a fantastic shot.
He has played quite a few really spectacular shots tonight, Craig Marsh. There'll be an element of him which will be frustrating that he's had to play those, as any top player will tell you. They don't particularly like playing the great shots because it means they've played a bad shot in the build-up to it, but he really has played some excellent shots tonight.
Yeah, and he'll be very annoyed with that one. The yellow next to that right centre was his problem ball, and he's just made it worse by putting the black near it. He wasn't trying to screw into the black like he did. He's probably going to have to play another cannon of some sort. You can just see he's lining up the black now, so he's going to be playing this yellow that he's nearest to into the left centre, screwing into that black. Wouldn't mind it nudging the yellow as well, so the yellow pops over the centre, but he does want the black to come back out to be pot ball to the corner.
The white's not ended up ideal for him. I think he's still okay on the yellow that he can see. He might even be tempted on the yellow over the middle if he can just squeeze it in.
Yeah,
I'm not sure he can.
I think he's going to be absolutely delighted with this. I think this yellow just about drops in the centre, so that probably not quite how he played it, but he'll be delighted.
Yeah, there we go. Nearly went badly for him, but actually it turned up pretty much perfect.
Yeah, I don't think it was exactly as he played it. He was probably trying to catch a little bit more of the yellow to bump it out into play, but it's okay. The only issue he's got here is he's got the pot on the yellow, but the white's going to be going away from his work. The white's going to go up towards the top end of the table. He's got two choices. One is to go in and out of the top end of the table. The other option is just to drop this in and accept the fact he's going to have a bit more distance on the pot to the left corner. Oh, he's got too much side on this. I think he's got into this too much. He might just about be okay. He's very, very tight.
He's having a real good look at that. It's close. He might just have overran it. I think he can just about see the potting angle. It's difficult to say from our position. It looks like he's down to play it. Oh, and it made it missable.
Yeah, the crazy thing about that is he didn't know whether he could see quite enough of that to pot it, and he actually missed it thick, which means he could see plenty of it to pot it. You can see that, he's hit that on the thick jaw.
I think that'll be the real frustrating thing for him. As soon as he sees which cushion he's missed it on, then that's when you really know if you can see the full pocket.
Yeah, he'll be very annoyed with that. It's just amazing that yellow, although it wasn't in the way, it was hampering him in terms of it was in his vision, and he just wasn't 100% certain.
And Corey Rees here has really got a great opportunity to head into the lead. A lead which he potentially would have thought he's got no chance of having at the start of this frame when Craig broke. Be a little bit of a steal.
That's a great first shot from Corey. They're very missable when you're cutting them back like that. It's so easy to just overcut them and you flick the near jaw and that's not going to go in. So great start. He's got the red on the right hand side, which is going to have to be cued in nicely down the rail, and the red on the left hand side, which if it doesn't go to the corner pocket, it's actually going to be quite delicate into the centre pocket.
But having said that, we do mention the one on the right hand side. It's not as if it's been a problem for him so far tonight in cueing pretty strongly down the cushions. It's actually been one of his stronger areas of his game.
Yeah, he's been potting lovely down the cushions tonight. He looks really confident in all aspects of his game. The hardest part with that red down the rail may be getting on it. Has he nudged that yellow enough?
I think he's just taking a look at the red on the left of the table to wonder if it goes. I think it might, Yeah,
I think it just goes. Yeah, I think he's okay there.
And actually, that's the perfect angle to get something.
Oh, he's having to bend this round the yellow. Great shot. He couldn't quite see the potting angle, just had to bend it around with a lot right hand side, and that's a fantastic shot.
Now he can work his way to pop the ball onto the right cushion. This is the key shot, you feel. Has to get this right. And he's got it just about perfect. Wants to avoid being too close to that jaw, and he has. Lovely shot from Corey Rees.
Yeah, I think when he hit this, he thought this white might be going close to going in the centre pocket, but it's just pulled up in time. This is a delicate shot, though. This isn't guaranteed. This is when you're just cutting them back like this, a bit like the first shot he had in this visit. When you're cutting them back, it's so easy to overcut these shots.
Big shot. Nails it. Really, really nicely played from Corey Rees. This should be 2-1. Routine black. Just about to tick over to 20 minutes. Now we've seen 3 really high quality frames. It's 2-1 to the underdog, at least on paper. Corey Rees, who capitalises on an error from Craig Marsh and has the advantage.
Yeah, there's 2 of these 3 frames could have gone either way. Both players having great chances in them, but Corey he's put the mistake he made in that first frame right out of his mind and looks very, very sharp. Looks like he's just continuing the way he left off in the semi-final. And Craig's definitely got his work cut out in this match now.
And it's worth pointing out as well, it could so easily be 3-zip because Corey Rees really should have won the frame that he lost.
Yeah, but the counter argument to that would be that Craig would feel that he should have won the frame that he's just lost now. So yeah, ifs and buts, but yeah, no, absolutely. There's every chance Corey could have been 3-0 up in this match.
It's good to see, actually. As I've mentioned a couple of times tonight, we've seen a couple of fairly one-sided, at least in terms of the scoreline final so far in the Champions Cup, from Mark Farnsworth and Ronan McCarthy, and Corey is really going to give Craig a game by the look of things here.
Yeah, I think when the draw came out for this event, I think Craig will be frustrated that he's got Corey, because out of all the qualifiers that he could have got, Corey's probably the one that he would he didn't want to play the most. They are friends. They played against each other a lot. There's going to be no fear factor from Corey. He's beaten Craig so many times. They've beaten each other so many times that it's a much more even match than it might have been if, say, he would have played a different qualifier. Even if it was a different qualifier of Corey's level, there's just a comfort level that Corey would have playing Craig that I think
there's no danger of being overawed, is there?
Yeah, absolutely.
But having said that, he'll be disappointed, Will Corey there. He's come up dry on that break. And this looks pretty inviting for Craig.
Yeah, he's got a good chance. It's not as easy as a couple of the chances we've seen so far in this match.
Extension called.
Okay, looks like his first shot might even be the hardest shot he's got in this match. So he's going to look to pop that red in there and screw back here. The problem he's going to have is working himself through the finish. Is the black is going to be the hardest ball. So that's the reason he's left the red at the bottom of the table there. The obvious ball for him to play on off that red down the rail would have been the red that's sort of in nearest the triangle area, nearest the black, but he wants to leave that for his last ball, because that's the ball that's going to make it easier for him to get on the black.
And he's left it quite nicely on the top cushion here. That was potentially his other difficult ball, but he's gave himself a lovely angle to make this one straightforward. And from this point on, I think you're dead right, Simon. It's going to be the black that he's concerned about the most.
Yeah, he just has to get good position on his final red, which isn't 100% guaranteed just the way the layout of the balls are. He needs to play a very nice positional shot. This next positional shot's easy, it's simple, just a roll through. It's going to be the next shot. He's got a margin of error, but he just has to be careful when he does play onto that.
Oh wow. You can't believe it.
I can't believe it.
A shake of the head. It looks pretty arrow straight, just wide of where he needed to be. What a huge let off for Craig. From Craig, I should say.
It's a poor player's trait that when they miss a pot, they're going to say, you know, the table's rolled off or something like that. But in truth, he didn't really cue that one as well as he can. Let's have a look. Oh, maybe it maybe hinted at going towards the jaw, but yeah, it's a difficult one to really tell from there. I just don't think he cued that one as positively as he has done in other shots throughout the match and throughout his career. It's just one of those that he's not really hit very nicely. But it's difficult for Corey. He's got a red. That red is blocking his yellow at the top end of the table.
Looks like it's going to be a safety shot from Corey.
And that's not good at all.
Yeah, and I think he's let Craig off the hook there, because this red nearest the white looks pretty straightforward into the middle, and then the two remaining reds are over the pocket.
Yeah, the only red he could see there was the red to the left centre. That we talked about it when he was on the original clearance. That was going to be his red to get on the black. So now he's going to require a better positional shot to get onto the black. But it's not too bad, because he's got enough room. He'll pop this to the right centre, and he just has to drift down to below the black, take it into the left centre.
It's a real reprieve this for Craig Marsh, who would not have expected, granted it wasn't the easiest lie for Corey, but he would not have expected to be straight back at the table and polishing off his remaining three reds so quickly. Black goes no trouble. It's two apiece. We've got a real final on our hands.
Yeah, I mean, that was Corey. Although he got given a shot in that frame, it was a tough shot. He was forced, faced with. He'll be annoyed with how it went, and he would have expected to get the snooker there. He had a little bit of margin of error. The thing I find interesting so far in this match is the two frames that Craig's won so far. He's required mistakes, albeit that last one not so bad as the first frame for Corey, but he's required a mistake to win it.
And what's your final verdict on that pot?
I just think it's one that he didn't cue as well as he normally does. He didn't want to. Didn't really want to punch it in with too much pace, because the white would be moving towards the other red. He just wanted to drop it in. It looked like to me like it always started on the draw. It may have hinted towards the jaw, but I think if he could have that one back, he could cue it a little bit better.
Well, a good chance for Craig to take any potential frustration in the last frame out on this break. Expect a pretty aggressive one. And it is.
Yeah, that's
look how many balls up at the top of the table.
That's probably Craig's best break of the night.
Just a little look at the light. Doesn't look the happiest we've ever seen him. Just wonder if he's going to have a bit of a tricky first pot. It's a brilliant lie in terms of how well the balls are spread, but
yeah, he's just got a couple of problems. It looks like he's going to go yellows, which means the yellow on the top of the table as we look now, just here, that becomes a bit of a problem ball. He's a little bit thin on his first yellow as well. So reds are just as awkward. I was, I'm looking at the table and thinking, I want yellows here, but maybe that first yellow is just a little bit too thin. He's going to lack some control off that.
It looks like he is choosing reds.
Okay, so he's got two problem reds. He's got the red on the right rail and the red on the left rail. The one on the left-hand side is blocked by the yellow. I think he may have half a pocket, but it's difficult to get on as well. And the red on the other side of the table is very tricky because the black's blocking the sort of path to get on that red down the rail. He may be able to double it after this shot now.
I was just thinking he could potentially look to do that, or indeed move it.
That's an incredible shot because he had no angle on that pot in the middle. He's really used the whole of that pocket. Look how, see, that red almost came out. Look how much of that pocket he's used to create that angle. It's an incredible shot, but he's still not perfect.
Still plenty of work to do here.
I think he's finished with a really, it looks like he's got a lovely angle here. If he can just stun to the side rail.
And there you see that shot again. Simon, the pace he had to play it and the angle he had to create made that so difficult.
If he can just get the white into that area there, then all he'll have left is one to cue down the rail.
I think that's the shot he's looking at now. Oh, really nicely done.
Yeah, now it's just a natural, good pot and natural position.
Played it nicely. We've had such a competitive final so far, and it's great to see that. Heading into the first break, it will be 3-2, and it should be Craig Marsh who has the advantage at this stage. It indeed is. Beautifully done. And that was a really tough little session. A lot of frames there could have gone either way to either player, and ultimately it's a very, very close when you can see how close pretty much every single stat is.
Yeah, there's a couple of frames where both players have had chances, and there have been some mistakes on both sides, but both players have also made a couple of very, very good finishes and still look incredibly sharp, so it is bubbling up to be quite a good match here.
3-2 to Craig Marsh, first of 7. Who will get there first and secure their place in round 2 of the Champions Cup? We'll find out after the break. very warm welcome back to Cardiff. You join us for the final session of this week's final in the IPA Champions Cup of Pool. Craig Marsh taking on Corey Rees. And Corey Rees, for the third time in the match, has come up dry on the break. He is 3-2 down. He's had his chances in this match, but he hasn't had too many chances off his own break. Stephen Jameson and Simon Webb with you on the commentary here. And Simon, how different would this game be if Corey's break was really working as he'd like?
Yeah, no, he looks so sharp and so confident. If he was getting a couple more chances off his break, then you feel he'd take them. We did talk about at the beginning of this match that he's not using the cue he'd normally break with in fear of damaging it, because it is slightly damaged already, so maybe that is having a factor. So it's a tough shot here for Craig. If he makes this, then he's going to give himself a really good opportunity, because after this yellow down the rail, there is a good chance for clearance on.
Wrapped its feet, but does get there. Just dropped the pace off it a touch to help it on its way. And as he takes a look at this little setup, I think the phrase you like to use, Simon, is every ball has a pocket.
Yeah, I do. I like to say that. The problem he's got is the yellow. He's going to play on the yellow next to the rail, and he wanted to catch that red full in the face. He's just slid off it, and he's left himself awkward. I was about to say the yellow nearest the centre pocket, if you get on that yellow, it's going to be getting back out for the next yellow is going to be a problem, but he missed the cannon, so he's going to have a real problem getting back to that yellow now. All he's really been left with here is a very tricky plant. Yellow onto yellow. Oh, great shot. And you can see there that looks like there's a little bit more room than I thought for that yellow nearest the right centre pocket. Well,
there's a cannon he tried to play. He wanted to hit that red full in the face rather than flicking it.
Yeah, for two reasons. One, to stay on the yellow, and one, to open up the black a little bit more. I thought it was going to cause more of a problem than it has, but it looks like he can still get to this yellow over the right centre pocket. I think he's on it now if he wants to, but if he takes it now, then the shot getting onto the black is going to be a challenge, because he'd be playing the yellow on the bottom rail to get onto the black, which would be tricky.
And those reds in the middle of the table, or just under the middle of the table rather, almost acting as a physical wall in between the two balls. It makes it very tricky and fiddly.
Yeah, and so he's decided to go the other way. He's going to use the yellow over the centre pocket as his last ball, because it gives natural position for the black. But what he needs to do is get back to where he was just before he played that last shot. Anywhere on the line of where he just pointed his cue. So almost where it is now is perfect.
Did leave himself pretty much straight. So just screwing back is the option. And as you can see that yellow. It's a fine little cut, this though.
Yeah, it's very, very easy to hit this thick and catch the near jaw, and this just stay up. If it makes the pot, the position is certain.
Because it's so fine, it's a real delicate one. He's playing with a bit of pace, and
well, he's played that with a lot of pace and left-hand side that I wasn't expecting. I thought he was just going to drop that in plain ball, but he's made that look very, very easy.
He left himself perfect on the black as well. He almost didn't need to make it as difficult as he did there, but goodness me, it was effective.
Well, I'd like to ask him afterwards why he's played that with the side, just to understand, you know, the mindset of a world champion, to understand why he needed to do that. It wasn't the shot I was expecting him to play, but just for
what do we know?
Yeah, just in a case of learning more than anything else.
That's a terrific shot from Craig Marsh. He heads into a 4-2 lead. First time we've seen a two-frame lead open up in this final. He's 3 away now from taking the place in round 2 of this Champions Cup. Reminder of the format: we do go up and down the country, various mini local tournaments. This one in Cardiff. We're here again next week at the Canton Club. And we go all the way around the country, a couple of times in Scotland, back here in Cardiff again in April,
yeah.
London, Solihull.
Yeah,
Sheffield.
when we come back to Cardiff, that will be my event. That's when I'm playing. So looking forward to getting back here in April for that.
And for the second time in the final, Craig Marsh goes in off the break. I'd love to say it's the second time in the final he's shook his head at the table and grimaced, but that would be telling a lie. But it's very unfortunate.
Yeah, he's hit another really big break. He was unlucky when he went in off the first time. I think that was the first break of the match, and he's been unlucky again now. So this is a great chance for Corey. He should fly through this visit. It's a very, very natural pattern. He just wants to be careful with these two. He's going to play yellow onto yellow, and he wants to stay on the yellow that he's going to leave over the pocket. And then you look at this and the table layout like this, and it looks so natural. You sort of work your way down the table in terms of if he can get himself straight onto the yellow to the left centre, then it's sort of four roll-ins on the trot to leave yourself on the black.
Yeah, it looks pretty straight to me. Dream setup, this.
Yeah, the only thing he just wants to be, the only thing that can really go wrong is getting slightly bad angle on his last yellow onto the black. If the black goes to the bottom right and it may go through the reds, then that wouldn't even be a problem either, because whichever side of the yellow he finished, he would be able to get onto the black comfortably. In an ideal world, I think he'd like to be a little just low on the yellow so that he can just top through, perhaps just bump into the red, leave himself straight on the black to the left corner. But if he finishes just the other side of the yellow, then it may go to the bottom right. Looks like he's finished with the perfect angle just to stun this in. He's just going to stun this in and take it to the bottom left corner pocket.
And there you see that the black does go. Not that he's going to use it in the end, because the way he left himself on that final yellow was perfect. The queuing is awkward though, but he doesn't obviously have to do anything with the white, just needs to pot it, and he does. It's 4-3. You feel like he needed that frame, Corey Rees, just to keep it close. Didn't want to ever let Craig get 3 in front.
No, absolutely. And the way this match has gone, we said at 2-1 that it could have been 3-0 to Corey. The way the match had gone, he's had a couple of chances and made a couple of mistakes, but he's also taken out a couple of great finishes. And to be honest, this scoreline could have been 4-3 either way. It really is. Both players look incredibly sharp, and they're taking the majority of the chances they get.
Yeah, been a really high quality final, this. Been really good entertainment. Remember, a race to 7, so it's still a little bit away. And Corey Rees back to breaking with his partner's cue, as we mentioned a couple of times already, and his break, whilst it hasn't necessarily been bad, he's not been getting results from it in terms of balls in pockets, and that's what he'd love to change right now.
Yeah, it went okay for him in the semi-final, but so far in this final, it's just been against him. Oh, he hit that break brilliantly. Deserves a ball. He's got a ball.
Well, if you wanted to do, that's a quite remarkable break. Red's at the top half of the table, yellow's at the bottom, which just shows how much he's got into that.
Yeah, that was a fantastic break. Really, you just see how much power he had going through that break, and absolutely brilliant. Deserved the ball, made a ball. The split is such that there's one really bad yellow. If he goes yellows, then he's going to have to cannon into the reds over the right centre. But if he goes reds, then he may have to play the red that's tied up by the yellow off the other red. So he needs to make sure when he does that that red goes down towards the bottom corner pocket. Oh, he was able to play it without. I wasn't sure if he could play that without playing it off the red. I wasn't sure if he could see enough of it. Now that he's done that, then it's a much more controllable finish. He's going to try and play on that red that I was talking about now.
Yeah, it's almost working his way up the table, then to come back down for the black.
Yeah, now he's finished absolutely perfect. It's that there is a really sort of fairly routine pattern left available here, and be a big surprise for Corey not to tie the scores up.
Our first 2 finals in this Champions Cup were very one-sided from the two big players, Mark Farnsworth and Ronan McCarthy. Ronan McCarthy didn't even drop a frame in his final last week. This has been the complete opposite. Totally even. Incredibly difficult to call.
Yeah, just wants to, I was going to say, he just doesn't want to be finished straight on this red to the top rail, but he's got just enough angle to be able to stun this out a few inches off the cushion, leave himself either probably on a choice, but probably prefer to be on the red to the right centre.
Yeah, which he is. And what's made this a particularly pleasing final on the eye, the pace these two players play at, the shot clock's not really an issue for them. 45 seconds, we've seen some players really struggle to adjust to that. These two, as long as they're not playing a safety, they don't really have to think about it. They really do not waste their time at all.
Yeah, they're just playing at their natural pace, and the shot clock hasn't been a factor at all. We've not really noticed it or touched on it. I think the frames have been nice and open, and both players are just playing at their natural pace, and it is very entertaining to watch, and it's very good on the eye.
We're heading to 4-4. If Corey Rees can pot this routine black into the left centre, it drops in, and we're all square once again. God, we've got a good final on our hands here.
Yeah, what a cracking final we've got going on here. Just every time I watch Corey play, I've been so impressed, and I am again tonight.
These are our matches next week back in Cardiff. An all-Welsh affair. Nicky Griffiths, Curtis Lee, James Hannay, who I've heard a few times on the commentary here on FreeSports, taking on Christian Phillips. That's a tough foursome to call, that.
Yeah, this is probably the most competitive four we've had so far. Christian starts as the seed, and he'll start as a nice warm favourite against James, but James has pulled some big wins over the last season or two, and Nicky Griffiths versus Curtis Lee is one I really wouldn't want to call.
Yeah, that's to look forward to next week. Same place, same time, here on FreeSports, live from 7 o'clock every single Monday, all the way through for the next 18 weeks. Break for Craig Marsh. Had a little bit of trouble with his breaks recently in terms of going in off. He gets 2 down on this one, but a couple of problem areas.
Yeah, not the best split for Craig. This is probably the worst split of the final so far.
But not because he didn't get into the break.
Just the way the balls have run, he's hit the break fantastically well, made 2 balls that were flying all around the table, but he's got a mess on both sides of the table. It really is, first glance, is it's very difficult to see how he goes for a finish.
You can almost hear the cogs turning in his brain.
I think if he plays this first yellow off the other yellow, that will open that yellow up if it doesn't already go.
That's a really clever shot. Has he got what he wanted to? I'm not sure he has.
I think he's been a fraction unlucky, but it may not have just got in the way. Yeah, I think that red looked like it was going to get in the way of everything, but I think he can still put the one down the rail, although it's difficult to get on, and the one just inside that still goes. So, it looks like he's just going to tie up the pocket here.
Don't think that's how he intended to do it.
Yeah, I don't think that's exactly as he intended to play that shot, but he's actually okay.
It was almost a shot to nothing, wasn't he? He knew that the white was always going to run pretty safe on the bottom cushion.
Yeah, I think he just wanted his yellow that was on the rail to, if he wanted his yellow on the rail to run much more over the pocket. He was trying to catch off the cushion and flick it down towards the pocket. He knew the white was going to finish where it had, so he knew he wasn't leaving anything too easy for Corey to go at.
Both these players are incredibly aggressive, though, so it wouldn't surprise me to see Corey taking a pot on there. That's a clever shot, just to take control of that top bag.
Yeah, he's just come up maybe a foot short. If the white continues on that line, then he's got the snooker behind the 2 reds, so he has left Craig a pot to this bottom right, but he still has a mess on the left-hand side of the table. Yeah,
as we constantly see, it's it's never just a case of potting for the sake of it. Have to be able to pot the next ball, otherwise it just won't take it on.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like he's absolutely dead straight on this yellow, and he's got no option on potting this yellow to the bottom right to get into those yellows. So he may just stun this in and play on a plant. But this plant is, there's plenty of angle on this plant, and this plant is quite missable. But if he does make the plant yellow onto yellow, then the other yellow is going to cannon the red, and it may well open up all his balls. Oh, he's going to be annoyed with that.
He's a little unlucky, isn't he, to say the least.
He's played a great shot, and he deserved for these to come out a little bit better than they have. The reason I say he's annoyed, he may just still be able to pot the one on the rail. The way he's looking now, I don't think the one, I was wondering whether he could see the one on the rail now to pot it, but I'm pretty certain he can't. So he's got the one in open play. He's going to screw this round 2 cushions and try and cannon into the red to leave himself on the one on the rail. That is fantastic. That is absolutely phenomenal shot.
Yeah, that's a really, really good shot.
Lots of screw, lots of side, purposely played into that red, and that's absolutely fantastic. That really is high-class pool.
I mentioned earlier on in this match that there's been some shots that Craig Marsh has played tonight which any player would be really pleased to make.
Yeah, he's pulled out, over the 2 matches, 2 or 3 just incredible shots, and that was right up there with anything we've seen tonight.
Yeah, brilliant again from Craig Marsh. He's gone into that all nicely. Black should now be routine, and don't forget we are in a race to 7, so he's not 1 away, he's 2 away, but the most important thing is he's closer than Corey Rees. It's going to be a close finish, you can feel it.
That was an incredible finish from Craig. When he came to the table, he had a dead straight pot on, and nothing else went, and he's pulled out 2 or 3 fantastic shots, including that screw round off 2 rails. Just absolutely fantastic, and Corey's really putting some pressure on him here, but Craig is coming up with the answers so far.
Here's that shot again, Simon. Just how difficult is that to play?
It's just an incredibly difficult shot to play. Lots of screw, lots of side, and it's just the vision to play that shot that's so impressive. Use the red as a target. The reason to use the red as a target is that if you catch that full, you can overhit it, underhit it. It's just a nice. It's always nice to have a target like that to aim for, but it's one thing to have a target. It's another thing to control it the way he did.
Yeah, absolutely. That shot, whilst he's got a target to play for, it remains very difficult to actually hit said target. Could easily have come out that shot with absolutely nothing on at all.
Yeah, just absolute confidence and belief in his ability, and pulled off a great shot and finished the frame off. Corey is playing fantastically well and putting the pressure on Craig, and Craig is responding. This is a cracking final so far.
Yeah, it really is, and
10th frame.
you just
Corey
get the
reached the
sense
break,
with the
trailing
way
5 laps
there's
to 4.
toing and froing that we're almost sort of destined for a decider. We saw this quite a few times in the World Championships that we covered here on FreeSports, that so many games were just absolutely inevitable heading to a decider, and Corey Rees's breaking woes continue. He had a wonderful break in the last frame, and we thought that might be the end of his issues, but then he goes in off and he swerved it straight into the middle pocket as well. And as you were saying, the last time Craig went in off, that one's avoidable. Yeah,
absolutely. That was more of a lack of control off the break than it was to bad luck being kicked in. The thing that was going to be really frustrating for Corey is he's braking so well, but when he has come up dry or made a mistake and gone in off, that there's such wide open splits that you would fully expect Craig to clear from here. And when Corey has made a ball off the break, I think he's always cleared up off it. So the break has really been quite pivotal for Corey.
Yeah, he knows. And interesting shot from Craig with his free shot there, just developing the black.
Yeah, he's going to be slightly annoyed with that the black's gone just far enough down the table that I think the yellow might have, I was going to say the red that's just inside the black is his problem ball. It does go to the bottom right. I was going to say the black blocked it to the bottom left, but I think the yellow had already blocked it, so it hasn't. The black didn't go too far. He just has to play on it, which he has done now. As we see, whenever the players they always go after their hardest ball first, and Craig has there, and as long as he can get this right on and off the cushion and back into open play, this should be a routine finish from here.
Craig looking very much in control here. Are there any potential issues that you can spot, Simon, even if you are being at your pernickety best?
Well, if I'm going to try and make a case for him having a problem here, it's going to be very, very difficult. I wonder whether the black's got a full pocket. It may only have 2/3, but the four reds are almost impossible for him not to get onto the black. Even if it isn't a full pocket, he's going to be right behind it. So yeah, I'd love to make a case for this to be difficult, but it shouldn't be.
And if Craig Marsh can hoover it up, you can see that most of the pocket. I think 2/3 is a pretty accurate representation.
Yeah, and that would be a problem if he wasn't going to get absolutely behind it, but he's going to be right behind this dead straight, so it won't cause him a problem.
So this for 6-4 and 1 frame away. Beautifully done from Craig Marsh. It's a cruel reverse dish against Corey Rees, who went in off. Had 3 in-off breaks in this match. It really has been the story. Whenever Corey Rees has got his break right, he's tended to have cleaned up. But when he's got it wrong, Craig Marsh has been there to punish him.
Yeah, there's been some very, very good finishes in this match, but there's also been a couple of mistakes off the break, and each time that's happened, the opponents have punished it. I think Corey, from his side of the table, the mistakes he's made, I'm just, looking back, he's 6-4 down, but he made a bad mistake in the first frame, and yeah, he'll look back and think, oh, I'm 6-4 down, I could be 6-4 up. But both players really are playing at an incredible level, and it really is exciting to see.
Leading 6 frames to 4. Time run.
Yeah, it's one of those where you almost wish you had a world championship length game here, because it really would be interesting to see these two play this sort of standard over 3 hours.
Yeah, I want to see this match carry on. So another good break from Craig.
He really is getting into his breaks really well. As you mentioned, he's not been enjoying the best of luck with them, I don't think, but splitting the balls has never been his issue over that entire time period.
Yeah, he's getting through the break really, really well. I'm just looking at this finish and just wondering, well, I always thought he might go yellows and leave the yellow that's on the side rail to his last ball, that he could then pop that in the middle and leave himself on the black down the rail. But now he's gone reds, he's going to need to move that black, because well, he could double the black eventually, but I think he's going to look to move it.
Could be playing that shot now. He is.
And that's brilliant.
That could not have played out better for him. Fantastic shot.
You saw him looking at that before he played his first shot on the red, and he'd already worked out how he wanted to go about that, and 2 shots later he's already achieved it. And what I was thinking was going to be a very difficult finish because of that black is now fairly routine. This should be the visit that wins the match.
Yeah, Corey Rees's final shot of the match could well be an in-off his break 2 frames before the end, and it's almost the cruelest way to go in a way.
Yeah, and that's probably why he was looking so frustrated, because he thought that he's played Craig enough to know that he's so dangerous off his own break that could have been his last shot. A bit like the previous frame, I'd love to build some drama and say that this is how he could go wrong, but these are these are as you want them to win the match.
Yeah, it really couldn't be too much more straightforward for a player of Craig Marsh's supreme ability.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I'll say is those the line of yellows could become blockers, but he's not going to go anywhere near them, really. He's going to leave the white. Yeah, he's going to go absolutely nowhere near those yellows, so.
I don't think Craig Marsh was particularly impressed with that shot. Apologies if you just caught his reaction. I don't think he was particularly pleased, but it hasn't affected him too much. Craig Marsh advances through to round 2 of the IPA Champions Cup of Pool. Terrific win over Corey Rees in the highest quality final we have seen so far in this competition. Craig Marsh was really made to work for that. All 60 minutes of it. And those are the final stats. Great game.
Yeah, fantastic game. It's great to see Craig being pushed. Corey played really well and pushed Craig hard, but Craig's responded, and that's the best I've seen Craig play probably since he won the World Championships. Very, very impressed. So watch out for Craig Marsh the rest of this season. Fantastic.
Well, I'll be hearing from the man himself after the break. Yeah, hello, welcome back to Cardiff, joined by the winner of week 3 of the Champions Cup. Craig, first of all, how do you feel?
Yeah, I'm happy. I think I played pretty solid all day, to be fair, so I'll take that, yeah, definitely.
Really, really high quality final. In fact, it's a high quality round here in Cardiff. Is that particularly pleasing for you to sort of get through that?
Yeah, it is, because I know how good a player Corey is, and obviously Greg as well. So, and I haven't been great in probably a year. That's probably the best I've played in since winning the World Championships, actually. So, yeah, I'm really pleased to get through.
Yeah, are you sort of looking at 2018 as almost a reset after the year that you had since winning the Worlds last year?
Yeah, definitely, because there was quite a lot of pressure coming with the tag, basically, and I didn't really handle it very well. So, yeah, I'm looking forward now to going into 2018 and trying to win a few more tournaments.
And in terms of this competition, how much have you enjoyed the sort of format of it, the quick pace? It seems to really suit your game.
Yeah, well, the shorter sets definitely suit me, the shorter matches. I can concentrate for that amount of time, I think, because my concentration goes otherwise in longer matches. But, yeah, I really enjoyed it. The venue was brilliant, and the table was really nice, to be fair.
And looking ahead to the rest of the competition, you can look ahead now, round 2. It's going to be a tough competition to win, but I'm sure it's one that you've got your eye on.
Yeah, I can watch everyone else slug it out now while I sit on the sofa and watch, so that's nice. That's a good thing to have.
Well, we'll let you go off and do that. Congratulations again.
Cheers, thanks very much. Cheers.
And here is just how Craig managed to seal his place in round 2. Well, there we go. That is how Craig Marsh booked his place into round 2 of the Champions Cup of Pool. And it continues in earnest next week here on FreeSports. We are back in Cardiff, same place, same time, 7 o'clock next week. And this is what we've got to look forward to. 2 fantastic semi-finals. Probably the closest one we've got on paper, at least, in the Champions Cup. Nicky Griffiths taking on Curtis Lee will be a very, very close game. And Christian Phillips, the seed in this group, has got a tough game against James Haney. Do join us next week at 7 o'clock. It's set to be another cracker in Cardiff. But from us here, from FreeSports for the evening, a very good night.